right.
There we go.
How cool is that looking? Neat, eh?
Oh, I forgot I had this thing on my head.
No, keep it on, man.
I totally forgot I had.
What's going on, everybody? Metal Dad here, aka the dog, and I'm here as always with my buddy Chris Mercer, aka Turbo.
Yep, that's what they call me.
And we got a guest today with us, Bob Rock.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm going to let Chris introduce himself as always again. And then, Bob, you can introduce yourself to everybody. Tell us who you are, what you're doing. We're live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I'm Turbo on the Servo, and here ready to rock and roll. Been hitting the rallies this week and meeting with some friends, making plans, unplugging from the grid in more ways than one, and plugging into the universal consciousness, the real grid, beyond the grid. It's like, it's not even a grid. It's like, I don't know, what is that? It's a tetrahedron or something. So they don't teach you that shape in grade school. A dodecahedron. Isn't the tetrahedron, though, the one that's like a fifth dimensional one? Or something like that, I think so.
I'm not sure.
Can't remember. I'll look into it. I'll look into it.
I know what you're talking about, and I'm having a brain fart right now because there's the Merkabah, which is your energetic field. Like, it's basically like a toroid. Or no, there's a toroid, and then that creates...
Taurus.
Field? Yeah, Taurus field.
Yeah.
And then that creates your it also creates a Merkabah, which is actually what the painting of the Peruvian Man?
I'm not
Oh,
sure.
yeah, from Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah. I'm pronouncing it wrong, and somebody can...
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
We're going to sound smart, but we're probably going to say dumb shit. Let's get fucking real here, right?
Well, I know a lot of morons who use a lot of big fancy words, though.
Well, there we go.
And talk a lot of shit.
So they're moronic, right? They have the what is it? Omicron?
The Omicron. Pretty much.
I'm going to get you some reverb.
Some what?
Reverb on your voice.
Lever.
So we sound cool.
Yeah, no, I just want to play this one song. I'm not a metalhead, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, okay, never mind. Shut up, Brian.
Yeah, I was invited here by Chris, and I didn't even really realize it was a podcast. I'm just looking to connect with people of like-mindedness who are musicians, and I don't care what style of music we play. Like, it's all about just getting together and doing what we enjoy, right? And all I've really, I guess, kind of want to contribute as a song this evening is, and I've already played it for you guys. I was explaining it to you. It has to do with the Hawaiian prayer of forgiveness, which is Ho'oponopono. And that is, I want to dedicate this to a friend of mine. Her name is Val. And I had a moment on her this week over the telephone. And I am extremely sorry that I had unleashed a fury of, you could say, a PTSD moment on her. And I thought, I've been working on my mental health for 6-7 years now, and I thought I was pretty well. And because I have a very, very dedicated practice, and what this pandemic or plandemic, we could say, what it has shown me is I am not as well as I thought I was. And so I just kind of put some chords together to the Ho'oponopono prayer, and I'll just explain the Ho'oponopono prayer. That's the Hawaiian prayer for forgiveness, and it's very simple. It's just, I am sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And that's it. And there's a story behind it, and I forget the gentleman's name. He's a doctor or a therapist or something like that. And I think he was in charge of the files of some criminally insane institution. I don't know how many patients were in the institution, but he had, said the Ho'oponopono prayer on all of their files, and magically every one of them was healed. And not only were they healed and released, from what I understand from the institution, but he himself was also healed in saying the Ho'oponopono prayer. So that's how powerful this Ho'oponopono prayer is. And I wrote my friend Val a text message saying the Ho'oponopono prayer and explaining to her that I now realize I'm in, you know, I'm deep in my PTSD, like I'm on high alert, so to speak. And in saying the Ho'oponopono prayer, it has brought me back to a calmness and a stillness within me. And Val had not responded to my text message until tonight when I was invited here. Like, this is how the universe operates, right? And so I had already put the chords together to the song and singing it all week to the universe, which I know she got the message because she replied to me, right? So I recorded it tonight and I sent it to her, and immediately she sent me a message back. She said, "That's beautiful." You know, so I would just like to play it for Brian, for your audience, and Chris, if you guys don't mind.
Oh, we would love it. And right now it's just the three of us. People will read or hear this later, or they'll see it whenever, but we would love for you to play it for us.
And can you tell me what it means? So it's Ho'oponopono?
Ho'oponopono. H-O'-Oponopono. I think.
And it means, what's the fourth?
It means, basically you're saying, I am sorry.
Yep.
Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you.
Awesome.
That's it. So I put some chords together in the key of G, and those are the words. Very simple. About 2 minutes, roughly. So bear with me while I try to get this on the go here.
Take your time, please.
Oh, I gotta find my voice. Ho'oponopono. 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 I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. Ho'oponopono. 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 I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. Ho'oponopono. 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 I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you.
That's awesome. Wow, man.
Thank you, and that is a perfect way to start this podcast off.
Awesome, man. That's awesome.
Holy, can
Thank
I borrow
you
that
so
song
much.
sometime?
Yeah,
We should sing that at every rally.
Yeah, I want to play it at every rally.
Man,
should.
oh man.
Oh, man.
Very cool.
Oh, that was a treat.
So simple.
I have to come back down off of that for a second.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate
I even had to pull out my mala beads.
that. Woo!
I was just picturing like 10,000 people singing that,
Yes,
Oh,
man.
man.
That's what the world needs, man. That's what the world needs to heal. I love
Wow.
the shaker, the rattle that you were doing, man. That was beautiful.
Yeah, it's kind of broken, I think.
I'll go get a different one.
I'll grab one.
Or you go grab one then. Oh, man. One thing I was going to say is don't worry about metal or nothing because we actually haven't played any metal here.
Okay, cool.
Like, I've played a couple of the, one of the metal songs that I wrote, but I played it on an acoustic.
Oh, nice.
Called, it's actually a song called Can't Stop the Hate.
Yeah, there is metal songs I love. Like, there's great metal music out there. I'm just not a metal person.
But you are looking around going, oh.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man.
It's actually the funny thing too is I was on a Toastmasters
I didn't
call
know
the
you
other
were
day.
RCR.
Oh, fuck. 2RCR, buddy. Pro Patria.
No way. So was I.
Were you?
Yes. From I joined 1990. January 1990 was when I hit the regiment right out of battle school.
Yeah.
And I got released in May of '99.
Just before I got in. I started the process in '99 because that's when I finished up with school, and then I joined in 2000.
No way.
I was in the battalion by 2001,
Wow.
and then I got out in 2013.
Wow.
So I spent 13 years as a proud Royal Canadian Regiment.
Yeah, I was 10 years to the day. I got hurt. Like I had like 5.5 years in the Army, qualified to the rank of sergeant. I was flying up the ranks, right?
Yeah.
And the medical review board sat and they said, get rid of that guy, right? Well, Colonel Sweetenham, he went to the medical review board. He said, no, you give this soldier the opportunity to stay in for 10 years if he chooses. And so the medical review board, my sergeant came up to me and he's like, hey, Rock, you can get out in 30 days or you can stick around. And I had like, I think 8 years in at that time.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I'd be crazy to get out. Like, I'll stick around for 2 years,
Well,
2
yeah, you got to
years
hit
in
10.
uniform, right? Just to get a small pension for
That's
10
the
years
half
service,
pension right there.
Yeah, I was a corporal, right?
Yeah.
Qualified to the rank of sergeant, but I was corporal.
Technically, I only lasted 10 years. The last couple of years was just me going through PTSD release.
Yeah, same. Like I was working in the UMS kind of thing, pulling guys' files for the doc and that kind of, just to say I'm still in, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Wow. Small world, eh?
Cheers, brother. I did the Pro Patria, my friend.
Pro Patria, Ducimus, brother.
Yeah, do some.
For those of you who don't know what Pro Patria means for country. Oh, oh, look at that. And Ducimus means we lead. It's the infantry motto.
That's right.
And then Pro Patria is is for the RCR's motto. God love you, brother.
Yeah, God love you too, brother. Brian, I didn't know you were RCR.
That's small world, eh?
I wouldn't have done anything other than join the infantry, my friend, because I'm not even going to lie, I was basically not forced, but I was drugged down to the recruiting center
Really?
by my mom, my mom and my grandfather.
Wow.
It was a combination effort. And my mom always felt bad a little bit. She's just like, oh, because I joined the infantry. And nobody expects, she thought I was going to do some Air Force trade or some shit because my dad was Air Force, right?
Yeah.
Fucking wogs.
Be a pilot.
So even the recruiter was shocked that I joined the infantry because they only offered me infantry or cook. Universe. The universe stepped in multiple times in my career.
Me too.
And
My life.
when I went to basic training, they almost released me because of my glasses. I went in because I was sick. I wasn't feeling good. The doctor's just like, I looked at your chart. You can't even be in the you're lucky to be in the military, let alone the infantry with your eyes the way that they are. So he left and he came back in with this weird puzzled look on his face. Like it was almost like God had spoken to himself. But it was done through the military. Like he looked fucking genuinely scared too. He's just like, I don't know what to say, but I was just told to push you through and see you later. I was like, okay. And then I got to 2RCR again. Or once I finally got to 2RCR, I was going down a live section attack range. And because of my peripheral visions with my glasses and everything and how blind I actually am, I was running and I had the C9 and I fucking tripped over this concertina wire fence or something that was on the ground that I didn't see. And as I was tripping, I took the C9 and put it down perfectly with no fucking problems. But my section commander freaked out at the time, and he's just like,
go with the weapon.
oh shit. He's like, holy shit, Hill said, what? And I told him I couldn't see it, and he fucking freaked out because they knew how thick my glasses were. They sent me off, and so for like 2 months, I wasn't allowed to even hold a weapon. And I did everything perfectly and proper. Like, you couldn't have done it better. Most people in the battalion would have tripped over that and probably killed themselves.
Yeah.
But I managed to ninja myself down and put the C9 without a problem. And I spent 2 months carrying a rubber rifle because of my eyes.
Oh, wow.
And then once again, it came down. Nope, fuck it. He's here already. He made it through. Let him go. And then, but you know, I made my name in 2RCR. Everybody, most people loved me. You know what I mean? At least I think they did. Some people thought I was crazy and spaced out because I'm a musician. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we do know what you mean. we're musicians.
We're all kind of fucked up. You tapped into all those energies, right?
Learn to embrace that. Yeah.
But the universe had a plan for me. It wanted me to go to the worst places in the world so that I could do this and teach people that that's not the way to do it.
I agree with that statement, Brian, because I'm not a fighter guy. You know, like I never ever thought I would be in the military. The only reason I joined the military was because a friend of mine who had did basic training, met his wife in basic training. They both got out. They were struggling in life. She convinced him get back in because, you know, pension, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was struggling in life. And he said, Bob, man, you would make a effing perfect soldier. Like I was studying martial arts.
Musicians,
Like you know what I mean?
well, musicians and martial artists, like
Yeah.
they make and the beautiful thing about Canadians or the Canadian military is it's suited for people like us.
Yeah.
Because unlike every other military on the planet, we have to know the job below us, above us, and every job around us.
Yeah.
And we're the only ones trained that way.
Yeah, and I have that awareness, and I either had it before I got in, or they honed it, but I have it. Right?
We have the capacity.
Yeah.
As soon as you start getting into music and your brain starts
firing those neurons, right?
Operating in that way and firing the neurons the way that music does. And music, that's why they say music is actually the
love language.
Not even just a love language, the universal language.
Yeah.
Math is the written universal language, but the actual
sound is what moves things. You know what I mean?
And sound, music.
That's
why they harnessed it so well, and that's why the Nazis put all their tuning at 440.
It's
right?
432.
Right? Yeah. And me and Chris were also talking about this because I was telling him a story because I'm getting into it with people on Facebook telling me that I got to get vaccinated, and I'm just like, but why?
Yeah, no.
Like, I will not take health advice. Sorry, I just kind of cut you off by accident there.
No, it's okay.
But I will not take health advice from anybody who smokes cigarettes, eats fast food. If you eat fast food, I'm not taking any fucking health advice from you at all because you're eating poison.
That's right.
Maybe even horsing people.
Yeah, that's right. I don't eat fast food either. But when you think about the current narrative, if this was all about health, why did they just take my fucking family doctor away from me? How is that my health concern? You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
So this isn't about health. We know that, right?
We know what psyops looks like.
Yeah, but we're also not afraid to admit as men that we have weak moments, so that makes us a bit unusual, and maybe it's the artist side of us.
Yep.
And interesting how I've met a lot of ex-soldiers who, whether they like it or not, have had that realization. I've had mine not in the military. It was with a violent crime I was involved in. Like, I wasn't committing it. You know, I've done that too. Not really. But, you know, petty crime. But no, and, you know, I thought I was tough and realized you're never tough enough. That's just imaginary. I mean, we're all really tough, just not when you need it sometimes, you know? And yeah, a lot of folks who haven't had to face that, men or women, they seem to be the ones that are fighting it the most, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to believe that everything is going to be okay and that the government isn't always what it claims it is. And, you know, they're struggling with the idea of admitting that they've been fooled. Sort of thing, right?
But if you look at like a lot of the great sages,
it's understandable.
And the ancient ones, they talk about parallel universes, right? So if in the current narrative that's being played out on the planet, if your narrative in your head is chaotic and going down the doomsday scenario, that's probably likely where you're going. However, my narrative is, and this is where we're going, my narrative is that the powers that be that are controlling the narrative are going to be found out, and they are going to be punished. And this is the largest crime on humanity, and the truth is going to prevail, right? And we are the ones that are going to be standing in the light, and those that are the sheeple that don't realize they're being blinded are going to be coming to us for advice. And
We are the
help.
teachers.
We are the teachers.
You're
right?
100% right.
They're going to need our help, and we can't be egotistical about it. We have to be loving and say, it's okay. I don't care. You're my brother, you're my sister. I love you, and I need to bring you to where the real healing is. Don't listen to that narrative, because what they did was they turned alchemy into chemistry. They turned astrology into astronomy, and they turn herbology into pharmaceuticals, right? So we need to
Pharmacology. Sorry, I just wanted to keep the theme going.
Yeah, we need to change that all back, right? We need to go back to alchemy,
we need
back
to
to
reverse
astrology, and back to herbology, right? And we are the ones who are going to have this foundational knowledge when they need our help, and we need to.
And that's why we've been learning it since especially, this is the way I found out, or not found out, this is the way I view PTSD now. I view PTSD as actually a superpower. Because what it does, what PTSD actually is it's, you've put up so much, and then all of a sudden it's that whole straw breaking the camel's back metaphor, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the egg gets cracked. And then all of a sudden the light comes in. Because I remember the first time I did neurofeedback, and I know that a lot of people don't know what neurofeedback is across the country, but New Brunswick here in Canada is pioneering this thing called neurofeedback. And what it does is it rewires your brain. It gets your thought processes to go bypass what I call the mental knots in your mind, which is the same thing as a physical knot in your body. So for every mental knot you have in your mind, there's a physical knot somewhere along your spine. And I found that out, and that's why my back is the way that it is. And I'm also carrying generational curses and things that I'm breaking myself. That's why.
We all are.
Yeah, especially all of the awakened ones right now.
That's right. It's happening in an expedited rate on the planet. Right?
Oh yeah, and it's coming fucking down, and it's coming down hard.
Just like you talked about, there's just like this little tiny crack, right? And that crack now, a little light's been getting in over the last few decades or whatever, right? Little light's been, but that crack's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Bigger and bigger.
And now a lot more light's coming in, right? So guess the darkness is going to be just in the light.
Everything right now, I am firmly believing that a lot of things are a pantomime right now. There's a guy I've been listening to. I don't know if you guys heard of Charlie Ward.
No, I haven't.
Okay, Charlie Ward. He's pretty much banned off of YouTube or whatever, but he's also all over BitChute, and he's all over Rumble and things, all of the other media platforms that we're going to put this podcast on. Once I get a grip on the production side of things, because I'm only one man, I can only do fucking so much at once. I don't have a team of people. It's just me and Chris. Me and Chris sit down here, and I just make sure everything else works.
Yep.
And
there's only 24 hours in a day.
And there's only 24 hours in a day. I'm going through a bunch of personal things. I'm, family issues and things like that. I'm trying to get my life back together.
Yeah.
I actually, a few months ago, I went through the hardest thing that I ever had to go through. Me and my twin flame, we separated ways. We're going through the separation phase of what the twin flames. I don't know if you guys are aware of what twin flames are.
Yeah.
And we're going through that phase right now, and we're mirroring each other and doing all of these different things. I'm not trying to bring my personal life into it, but we're going through this phase that we're going through. Mm-hmm. And it's forced me to break all of the generational curses, and I've learned so much about myself. And I actually found out why I was placed in the body that I'm placed in right now. Because in the last life that I was in, I was somebody I was a female, and I was being walked all over, and I was not standing in my power, is what I was doing. I just wasn't standing in my power, and I was this radiant light or something, I can't remember. But when I came into this life, the universe decided, okay, since you were wrong done by in that other way, we're going to give you the strongest thing that we can possibly give you. But we're going to give you this minor little defect where you're blind. And that's going to be your only flaw. But I realized it's not a flaw. And I did a video on it the other day, and I realized
it's a gift.
It was a gift, because my eyes have been magnified 3 or 4 times more than anybody else's eyes on most anybody else's eyes on the planet. And I realized that because of that, I've never been able to actually lie to anybody.
Yeah, they spot it right away. That's awesome.
Well, they would spot it right away, so I have to be honest no matter what I do, and I've always had to.
Beautiful, brother.
Even when I was on a trip in Virginia, we went on a band trip because I was in the Pipes and Drums in Tour Sierra. Pipes and Drums.
Yeah.
Love that fucking instrument. But I was down on a band trip, and these
Was
morons.
Gene Heather still there?
Gene Heather was in and out through the whole time I was there. I love Gene Heather. Shout out to Gene Heather. He actually taught me the most about music theory that any man has ever fucking taught me.
Awesome.
He is actually one of the only people that actually I actually listened to and actually taught me music. Everything else I learned on my own. I'm a completely self-fucking taught musician.
Gene's an awesome drummer.
And he's an amazing fucking human being.
Yeah, he is,
Fucking, hold on, I gotta get my thoughts back again.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay, because Gene deserves this little bit of limelight, because this podcast right now probably wouldn't be happening the way it is had I not gotten the knowledge from Gene.
Oh, nice.
I'm not even lying. Like, he was one of the catalysts for my musical journey.
Nice. I love Gene. Gene, man, shout out to you, brother.
I hope you actually see this one day, Gene.
I hope he does too.
Here, I'm going to play a little background music while we talk. We do this once in a while. I used to play for a yoga class, and I would just make up music to fit. Sure, I'll try that one.
What was the last thing I said before the Gene Heather thing? That'll come.
Well, you're playing you're in North Carolina, learning about your eyes, and you're in the pipe band in North Carolina.
Oh, in Virginia.
Virginia, there you go.
We were in Virginia. Went down to do a tattoo. What was? Oh man, maybe that shot of rum wasn't a good idea. It doesn't matter. Music. It all makes it worth it.
That's right.
We're gonna take.
I think you were talking about your eyes being a blessing.
Oh, my eyes. Thank you. I did a video. There we go. Because I could never tell a lie, my eyes, I found out that even the one weakness I had is actually a blessing in disguise. And I'm actually not even using the word blessing anymore, because I came across this video that was actually saying that a lot of the wordplay, like, I used to think the English language was probably one of the best languages in the world, because it's actually a mix of every language on the planet. And if you look at the English language, it actually is. It has words and phrases from every language on the planet. Yeah. It's the easiest language to learn, but it's the hardest language to understand.
Yeah, like, what does sweating like a pig mean? Because pigs don't sweat, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's all those kinds of phrases, right?
Wow.
There's tons of those phrases.
Yeah, but we've
adopted it.
We've adopted it because we've equated human beings that are overweight and pig-like when they sweat like that. So that's why we do it. But it has nothing to do with pig sweating.
No, yeah. So the language, like you were saying, it's skewed. Everything's kind of backwards, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure of any examples right now. That's just the first one that came to my head, was sweating like a pig. Doesn't make sense, right?
I remember where I was. I was talking about my eyes and how I was given this body the way that I am, and I'm not gonna not to be arrogant, but because of the past life issues that I had or whatever, based on the things that I've learned about my past life, because I never stood up for myself. My life so far, I was given one of the best physical bodies that you could get. I'm 6'2", I'm over 200. I have the ginger gene.
Ginger gene. Your hair is red?
My hair isn't red, but my beard used to come in strawberry blonde. It doesn't so much anymore, but it used to come in, and if it gets long enough, it will go strawberry blonde. But my dad is a ginger, my brother's a ginger, and I married a ginger.
Isn't that one of the Aryan races? Like, not Aryan.
That is one of
the original races.
It is one of the original. I also have O negative blood, which is the original bloodline.
What's the blood?
O.
O.
The reason they call it O, they changed it to O, because they found out that it is the original bloodline of the human race. Original. Then everything else after that came after it. And then if you're O and then you're negative, that means that you aren't actually from this planet, technically.
You're not from this planet?
Because you don't have the rhesus monkey in you. You're actually pretty much 100% alien.
This greater intelligence, this other intelligence.
Other dimensional, whatever, because the human race is actually a mixture of every universal body everywhere in the galaxy and the universe. The Earth, from what I've learned and some of the things that I've come across, is actually the galaxy's library. And so every type of life form you can find in the galaxy, you will find here on planet Earth.
Oh, wow. And I've also heard that when they look inside of the human brain,
it looks like the universe.
All the neurons and how it all looks. There's pictures from the Hubble telescope. They almost look at, or they are identical, right? The picture of all the neurons.
They even told you that in Iron Man 3.
They said that?
They didn't say it. They showed it to you.
Oh, really?
There's a scene where Pepper Potts is talking to the villain.
I've never seen the movie.
And the villain stands up on a table and he has these 3D, or he has these balls that he throws out there, and it throws up this big 3D image. And the first thing that happens is it throws up the universe. And then he's like, "Oh, that's not what it is." And then he changes it, and then it turns into the human brain. But then when he dives into it, like, if you didn't know already, like what you just said, and you watched that movie, you wouldn't know that that's what was happening.
Okay, yeah.
But when you're enlightened and you see all of these things, and then hold on, I'm gonna tell you something about Stan Lee that's gonna blow your fucking mind. Stan Lee. Just remember that for a second. Okay. But anyway, getting back to the. Yeah, he was the guy
that's why I know the name.
Yeah, he's the writer he's basically the guy. There's a guy from Marvel, it's him.
Yeah, he's got all those superpowers.
Right. So they explained it to you in Iron Man 3. And we'll leave that there because now I brought up Stan Lee and my mind's gone that way. So, Stan Lee. The reason Stan Lee is such an important human being is because he took every conspiracy theory on the planet and cleverly put it into a children's comic book for everyone to see. And nobody said anything to him, and the government didn't touch him because they knew nobody would take it seriously. But he always walked around calling everybody true believers. And do you really know what a true believer is? No, you wouldn't. A lot of people wouldn't know what they thought the true believer was in the comic books. But the true believers are actually the ones that could see what he was writing, because what most people don't know is that Stan Lee and Dr. Seuss wrote all of the PAMs for the U.S. military during World War II when they were learning all of the secrets of the universe, because that's what the Nazis were studying.
I didn't know that.
And the American government was studying the exact same thing right up until the war, and then the war happened, and then poof. But Stan Lee and Dr. Seuss had access to all of that information. Why do you think Dr. Seuss is always talking about quantum reality? If you look at every Dr. Seuss book, it's about quantum reality. But both of them knew enough that they had to hide it in children's stories or things that only kids would know in order to get away with telling it, because if they came outright and said, "This is what we know," they would be dead. Look what happened to Kennedy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Marilyn Monroe, too.
And Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Elvis.
I didn't know about
Elvis, I don't know 100%, but do you really believe he died on a toilet?
I didn't even know he died on a toilet.
I know that because that's something that Dennis Leary talks about in one of his stand-up comedy acts.
Yeah, that's true. He passed away. They found him on the toilet.
They found him dead on the toilet. Like, do you really believe that Princess Diana died in a tunnel and the paparazzi stopped the ambulance from getting to her?
Yeah, no.
Do you really think that the greatest princess on the fucking planet died because the paparazzi stopped the ambulance from getting to her for half an hour while she died painfully. Is she dead, or is she just hiding because she found... I don't know. I've heard... I'm not going to come out and say that the Queen is a fucking shape-shifting reptile.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to go that... Well, I will say that I do believe in a reptilian race, because I've learned a lot about extraterrestrial types of beings. So I do believe in maybe a reptilian type of race.
Yeah, I've never thought about that about the Queen until, just recently.
But even Vladimir Putin thinks she's a fucking reptile.
Yeah. I just never realized,
I'm not saying that the Queen's a reptile. I don't want to be crazy.
No, but I just
It's a
never,
fun story.
I never realized the control she has over this country, and what was it? Was it Barbados that just denounced their monarchy?
Yeah, Barbados, I believe so. Yeah.
Just announced their monarchy.
No, I didn't know that.
And I never realized the power that she holds over all of us, right? Like she holds us.
Oh, dude, I see. It always struck me odd that when I joined the military, that I swore allegiance to the Queen, not the country.
I know.
Because here's the thing: Canadians are raised with an American mentality. It's weird. We are actually in a weird cross section. Canadians are more American than we are anything.
Yeah.
If you think about it, we grew up watching American TV. Most of everything I watched was American. I identify more as an American.
Everything that we have around us came from.
Like, I'm a Canadian, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, same.
Like, Canada is a part of North America.
Yeah, that's right.
But
we're the North Americans.
technically, I'm an American.
Yeah, in America, the idea of American is not necessarily like
Like,
that country and their little policies. It's about what happened when all of us got together over here.
Exactly.
And that's the way
It
turned
just
out.
happened
So,
that
we
the
are
Queen still
American.
kind of... The Queen technically owns the land called Canada. But what really got me was when Justin Trudeau was first sworn in as the Prime Minister. I fucking had a big white canvas fucking screen here with a projector. I watched his fucking swearing in. His exact words were, "I swear allegiance to the Queen, and I will keep her secrets." Those are the only two fucking things he said when he got sworn in. I watched it fucking live. And when that fucking happened there, I went, what the fuck? Fuck you. And every time somebody told me I was playing the Queen's bagpipes, I looked at them and went, what? No. I'm to serve Canada. And as far as I know, Canada is not Great Britain, because that's the American mentality. That's why Canadians are fucking weird, because we think we're American, which is clever on the British side, or the royal side, I'll say, not the British. But the reality is, they own our land, but we think like Americans. That's why in this great pandemic, pantomime, greatest reality TV show ever fucking created, when they drop the bomb, Canada and the US is going to happen all at the same time, and it's going to become one country. When we go into that fifth dimensional reality that we're trying to create. Because you can't tell me that the two freest countries on the planet, Canada and the United States, are being run by the two most incompetent leaders ever fucking conceived. How real does that seem, considering all of the competent leaders we thought we had before this? This is the only time in history where we've openly been allowed to see how incompetent the leaders are. Only time. And the only reason that happens is because they're trying to show us on purpose. The only other reason is because it's actually happening and it's evil, and that would be fucking scary. So you have to choose. Are you going to believe that this is actually happening and we're slipping into fucking some kind of an evil reality? Or are they showing us what almost happened so that we can ascend?
We're ascending. Yeah.
I agree
This
100%.
is the darkness coming into the light, right?
Yeah.
You can't hide in the shadows anymore. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. Your time's up.
I went on an epic rant there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on a little bit of a fucking journey outside to go for a whiz. So I'm going to leave the microphone over to you guys. TikTok, you're going to be there without anything to look at.
Cool.
TikTok.
Well, I'm going to hand you your guitar if you want to hang it up or something and ask you a question.
Oh, question time.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your grounding journey. I think that'd be cool podcasting material.
My grounding journey.
Yeah.
So on my healing journey, I've come across a practice. Is that a rain stick?
It's a staff.
It's a staff. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. Cool.
Ooh.
Nice art on it.
Yeah, cool.
Nice. So I've come across this documentary on YouTube. It's called The Earthing Movie.
Mhm.
And there's this gentleman, Clive, I think his name was Clive. And he's the one who's essentially put this documentary together. Or he didn't put it together, but he's like the main focus of it.
Okay.
And he got really ill. He had some sort of liver problem. I'm not exactly sure the whole story, but he was in his earlier years in his careers, he was a lineman, and he went up on telephone poles and ran the lines into the house. And every line that he ran into a house, he knew it needed to be grounded in order for the positive and the negative to not whatever. I don't know much about electricity, but not
Yeah, like complete the loop type deal.
yeah, complete the loop and not explode the house or whatever. I don't know
Yeah,
much
yeah.
about electricity, but anyways, this guy became very wealthy because he took this technology and he turned it into what we used to use as the modem. He turned the internet signal in through a phone line, and he helped create and develop that technology.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he became very, very wealthy. And in his latter years, he's still alive now. I don't know I would say he's in his 70s, but he became very ill. I think it was some sort of liver disease. And he somehow put two and two together, understanding that we are nothing but energy. And what would I feel like if I grounded myself? Because he wasn't grounded. We've been, since rubber was put on our shoes, right, the human being is no longer being grounded. And of course, being in the conditions that we live in the winter, we have to have something on our feet. But way back in the day, they didn't have rubber. They had animal skins.
Yeah, leather or plant
Hide.
material or wood in some places. The Dutch, right?
Yeah.
The old
That's
clogs.
right. So everything that we had on our feet when we were like, prior to rubber and synthetics, things, stuff like that, were materials that grounded us. We still were grounded to the earth. And so since this is his theory. Since Nike will, for instance, started putting rubber on our shoes and stuff like that, society has gotten sicker and sicker and sicker. And of course, there's more to it than that. There's Monsanto and there's chemicals and there's all that. There's tons of it, right? But that's just one small piece of the puzzle. So what he did was he used like on aircraft and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the aluminum kind of tape.
Aluminum tape, yeah.
Yeah.
So he taped it across his bed and he ran a wire outside his window and he drove a piece of rebar down to the ground and grounded his bed, and he woke up feeling great. So,
oh man,
yeah. So long story short, he went around proposing to investors and some big, large companies that he has the next cure for lots of things, and they all thought he was crazy.
a flashback.
Thought he was crazy. And anyways, I have started his practice. So I walk barefoot through Odell Park. I've been doing it for 2 years.
Yep.
The bottoms of my feet are like leather. My pain in my back has subsided significantly. I thought my PTSD symptoms were pretty in check until I just had this violent outlash at my friend Val last week. But overall, I still feel pretty calm. And he has also some products on a website. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I'll get it to you if anybody's interested. I bought what's called a grounding sheet for my bed. And it's just this, it's got fibers through it, some sort of metallic fibers through it, and it's just plugged into my wall in my like your regular utility outlet in my wall, but it doesn't have the positive and the negative. It just has the ground. Like so, it's just the ground. And so what this does is it feeds the ground, which is my house is grounded, obviously. Because it's got electricity coming. So my bed is grounded, and man, I wake up feeling rested. I feel great. I've also got a blanket that I used to meditate with, and it has these silver threads through it, and it has a plug attached to it too. And I plug that into the wall. I wrap this blanket around me, and I sit on my couch and I meditate with it, and I feel. I don't know if it's placebo, but it doesn't matter, does it? If it's placebo, who cares, right?
At the end of the day, everything, let's be real now. Everything is a placebo.
That's right. If you know Dr. Joe Dispenza, he had
I know him very well.
He had 6 vertebrae crushed in his spine, and he put his spine
I didn't
back
know that
together
part
with
about
his
him.
mind.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean?
Like literally Doctor Strange.
That's it.
The movie Doctor Strange.
Exactly. We have that power.
See, that's the beautiful thing too, is that everything's being told to us, but it's being told to us covertly, and it's being told to us like it's not actually real.
Yeah.
Which is the odd thing.
Yeah.
It's a very odd thing.
I actually just met an old guy who had a stroke one morning, recognized that's what happened. And he was, pretty sure he said he was alone. So he knew he wouldn't make it to the hospital and didn't. And so he just decided then and there, I've got to heal this with my mind in prayer. So he did, and he prayed and just said, God, this is what I'm doing. I gotta fix this, or I'm not gonna make it. People are relying on me. And he did.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I did that with my
pretty powerful.
PTSD, man. I willed myself out of it. It actually, I had to do one thing before I could will myself out of it, and I had to lower the cortisol to the right level. Once you can get your cortisol balanced, then you can start working your way out of it. The other factor actually too was the implementation and the knowledge about neurofeedback. So those frequencies that I was getting you to listen to, did the same thing.
Yeah, I gotta get back into that. Yeah.
It helped me out quite a bit.
Wow.
That's basically what neurofeedback is. It's just listening to music through different frequencies.
Power of the mind. Well, it's funny, we had first reconnected recently, hadn't seen you in a while, and you were telling me a bit about that, and I was telling you a little bit of my story when I was sick and couldn't get any help, and the doctors didn't know what was going on. I wasn't getting any better at all, and I went to a native healing, full moon healing ceremony here. But the first thing I did it was a nice sunny day, and I just thought, something just said, take your shoes off. Put your feet in the bloody grass, man. Yeah. And I spent how many years walking around a parking lot recently? And it's funny. Actually, I never thought of it now. I really got back into martial arts and like karate. Everything was bare feet. You used to run in your bare feet. You train in your bare feet. Yep. And the guy who taught when I was teaching at the time, he was teaching there. We were talking about martial arts, and I was doing some Tai Chi and stuff, but we would wear shoes at Tai Chi classes, older people and stuff there, And it was fine. I had little rubber shoes, and it was okay. But when I was talking about the different techniques, he goes, man, you got to try the kickboxing workout class that I do. So I said, well, yeah, okay, why not? And I wanted to lose some weight. And, of course, the first thing you do is take off your shoes. And I just realized that right now. And I took right to it. Of course, I do all this sweating and training and tire flipping and everything else, no shoes. And I ended up getting into jiu-jitsu, no shoes.
All martial arts. No
Lockdown happens.
Taekwondo, no shoes.
Lockdown happens. I wore shoes. The only time I didn't was on my boat. But I always felt good on the boat. But yeah.
Like I was telling you earlier.
When I took my shoes off and grounded myself, I'll take them off here in a second. I'm wearing rubber boots right now. But and it just made a huge difference. But yeah, there's something to that. There really is,
It's the dirt.
Yeah.
Because that's where we come from.
Yep.
Right?
And there's that idea that you're like you can't deny we're kind of batteries. Like there is an energy field. Even if you're the most stubborn scientist, so-called realist, scientism type person,
Eventually, we're going to find it all out.
You can't
Everybody's
deny.
going to find out.
Yeah, your nervous
You're an
system is
electromagnetic
electric.
battery.
Yeah, it's all part of it. They restart your heart with
Electricity.
yeah, they don't fire you full of oil.
No,
right?
it's all
They don't
electromagnetic energy.
spin your arm until you start moving. It's electricity. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just watching. Have you guys heard of Nassim Harrison? He's a physicist, scientist. Nassim Harrison. He's got long
yes,
hair.
yes, I have heard that name.
Yeah, I was just watching a podcast with him and Dr. Beth. I forget her last name, but he's writing a paper. And this podcast was only 3 weeks ago, and he's just written he's written a paper, and it's been peer reviewed, and it's not published yet, but it's about to be published. And he has and I'm talking into the quantum field, like down to the plankton, like the Planck.
Right.
The
Planck.
the
Yeah,
Planck, right? The Planck field, which is like there's infinite. I don't know how to say it, but the infinite the
Folds?
the smallness, like as it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
It's infinitely small, right? Like
Right.
the Planck field is like one of those tiniest fields, right?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about physicists.
Yeah, it's the smallest measurement, I think, right now. Yeah.
Yeah, but they say there's more, right? But anyways,
Yeah.
it's one they're using.
Now we're getting
Maybe
into
maybe it's the
quantum.
smallest they're using or something like that. But anyways, what he was talking about, and of course I don't know all of the language, but he was talking about when you see water go down a drain, for instance, it's going down the drain with gravity. However, there's air that comes up, and the air that's coming out is coming out with magnetism. And so we've never been able to control these two things, and he has just figured out how to do it. And he is talking about us going into the next level of a reality of existence, in like us literally no longer physically being on the earth, but living off of the earth and allowing the earth to come back, like to come green again. We will be living off of the earth in some sort of whatever he's talking about, dwellings or whatever. Like this
Almost like floating cities and shit
floating
like that.
cities and traveling, floating and stuff like that, right? So that we
Kind of like the Jetsons and shit.
Yep, exactly like that. And because he's talking about giving the earth the ability to heal itself again, like, and what's currently happening. I don't know the language he used, but he's not worried about it at all. He said,
Well,
Yeah.
because this is where we're moving into, right?
Yeah, and the planet, let's be real. At
Planet
the
needs
end of
to
the day, if Mother Earth wanted to sort herself out, she would shake the shit off. She would just get rid of us.
That's what she's doing right now.
Yeah.
In a subtle way.
But yeah, and what's going to happen is all the people that want to stay in the third dimension are going to be removed from this planet and brought somewhere else in another third dimensional planet, and we are going to ascend with the Earth into the fifth.
That's right. I'm already in the fifth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that just
Yeah.
from conversations I've been having with people that are already in the fifth dimension. And
I can say that all three of us are.
Yeah, being in the fifth dimension, I shouldn't say I'm fully in the fifth dimension because I still have some third dimensional qualities, and those qualities are judgment, they're worry, they're fear, they're all those lower. They reside in the lower three chakras below the heart, right? And I still have them because they're part of my programming, right? However,
Because
I'm
we're still
aware of
here.
it.
The Earth is still technically third.
That's right. But we're moving, we're ascending
Yeah.
into that, right? So because I have this awareness and this knowledge, I'm going to be able to grab it quicker, and I'm going to be able to pull people up with me quicker.
Yeah.
Because I have that awareness and that strength, right?
You're caught in the middle. I'd probably call that the middle ground.
Yeah, almost in the fifth, but way above the third.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
but you have the ability to recognize when you're going through one of those lower dimensional shifts.
I just had
to
one
be
last
able to
week
just
on my
go, oh
friend,
crap, and
yeah.
fucking pull yourself right out of it.
I did.
tough,
I wrote
eh?
a song, Ho'oponopono. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I sent her that blessing because that's what we all need to do with our brothers and sisters and our families is forgive.
Actually-
all the bullshit that we put ourselves through and our families through and our friends through, right? And it's all ego.
Man, there was a buddy of mine, and he's just all in on the vaccines and just terrified of everything. But not even that. Just wants everyone to be locked down and hide
Because he's afraid.
in the basement like he does. He wants
Yeah,
everyone to do what he's doing, thinking. And I don't know if I don't know. I won't presume to know what other people think.
No, we can't.
But when you hear people say things like "I hate people," Well, it's like, man, I don't know what to tell you about
You're
that.
hating yourself.
Yeah, and that's it right there. I guess I wish I could have. It's
Yeah.
funny. I could have said that, right? But that is it. It's like, well, you hate yourself. You got to learn. But it was really bugging me. Sometimes like I'm that type of person. Well, the scenes will replay in your mind, and things will really bug you. They really bug me. And I was reading something. I ended up picking up a book. Long story short, it was like, you're psychic. What type are you? Type thing. I was like, I would normally get something like that, and I did. Anyways, and I read this one thing about, well, okay, if you've got someone that, that's bothering you, how to deal with that is just like basically pray for them. And like this was saying, okay, kind of go through your third eye chakra, meditate on that, picture white light, and forgive them, wish them health and happiness. And man, so I really did it heavy one night, heavy. And I haven't been bothered by it. I'm just like, yeah, and I'm like, and I just hoped he'd be okay and he'd find his way. And I've reached him, he had reached me, and I'm okay with that. But it's like, it doesn't bother me anymore.
That's the magic of this kind of stuff. What you need to do, or not, you don't even need to.
Yeah.
Try it. Ho'oponopono on him.
Yeah.
I guarantee.
It will,
it will resolve, man. Just like Val reached out to me after I've been singing that for like 3 or 4 days. I just literally singing it to her through the ethers, through the this Higgs boson field, right?
Yeah.
So there's a literal energetic field out there. You can see it. If there was a ray of light coming through there right now, and we could all see through the ray of light coming from the sun, ray, you would see particles in this room right now that are floating up. Not just down, but up. What's that? What's that all about, right?
Kind of makes you wonder about actual gravity, right?
Yeah, that's right. And this is what Nissan Harems is taught with. I think that's how he pronounces it.
There's Nissan Harriman. Yeah, I've heard the name before. Yeah. Actually, I had an old roommate. That's why I'm gonna have to do the. Actually, I had an old roommate. That's why I'm gonna have to do the whole. We connected on a lot of things, but a lot of things we didn't. And one of them was like they just didn't support my musical value. They just wanted me to support everything they did. And it was like, well, it's a two-way street. But that was one thing they were really into. That's when I remember first heard the name. And that's where the tetrahedron came from that I was talking about earlier. I think that was before the podcast. But
Tesseract.
Yeah, and the Tesseract. That was the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Tesseract.
Yeah.
Tetrahedron. That's the triangle. This way, and this way.
That's the Merkabah.
Yeah.
That's the Merkabah?
That's the Merkabah.
That's the Merkabah.
The double triangles like that.
That's what's all around us, right?
Yeah,
that's the energy field.
When you take one of the theories behind the pyramids is it's actually also half of a Merkabah.
Yeah.
And a Merkabah is basically two pyramids overlapping each other, which is also the dreidel.
Is also what?
The dreidel. It's kind of like
That's
kind of like a Merkabah,
toy
but
they spin and it spins.
That's like half of a Merkabah, kind of.
Little kids used to get it for Hanukkah. That was like
Technically, it would be like
it's a Jewish name.
Yeah, something like that. I think. Maybe I'm just channeling shit right now.
Back with little kids, where you'd give them a little top that they could spin. That was their toy for Christmas. Now it's just screens and blah 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 blah. But
yeah, it's crazy.
I think I'm gonna interject here.
Yep.
I got my guitar in my hand. I'm gonna.
Nice.
I actually have a song that I finished. Remember that one I was working on for the last week or two? I finally, the lyrics all came to me. This is a song about not only my brother, my actual blood brother, but a lot of our brothers who are royals who have been struggling and we can't seem to find them. And this is a song that I kind of came up with, and I'm gonna give her a little shot here.
Great, because I have a story to tell you about my own brother after I hear this.
Okay, this is called Gold Instead of Lead. This is the working title I have for it now. We'll see what happens. I was looking for my brother, heard that he was lost. And he walked a soldier's footsteps, but didn't know the call. And I thought that I could help him. make it through the fall. If only I could find him, I'd listen to his song. Oh, brother, can you hear me singing out these words? Only you would listen, even though it sounds absurd. And I know that you've been hurting. There's a ringing in your head. Spirit's trying to find you to give you gold instead of lead. Eventually I found him. He was lost in hell. So I listened to his story of how he tripped and fell. He said I tried to call him, but I couldn't use my phone. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm lost and all alone. Oh, brother, can you hear me singing out these words? If only you would listen, even though it sounds absurd. And I know you're hurting, there's a ringing in your head. Spirit's trying to find you to give you gold instead of lead. I know you're probably wondering how the story ends. All that I can tell you is that he isn't dead. I have to keep my distance so he can see the light. I stand here in my power like an angel in the night. Oh, brother, can you hear me singing out these words? Only you would listen, even though it sounds absurd. And I know you're hurting, there's a ringing in your head. Spirit's trying to find you to give you gold instead of lead.
Ooh, man. Wow.
That was great.
Thank
lyrics.
you.
Great lyrics, man.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you where that really resonates with me is I came out of a meditation 2 days ago.
Get her on the mic there.
What's that?
Yeah. Oh, we got to get you on the mic.
Get me on the mic. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We want to hear every word.
Yeah. Awesome.
Now,
That I'll tell you where that really resonates with me, Brian. I came out of a meditation 2 days ago, and as I was speaking about earlier, this pandemic has really expedited the awakening of the consciousness on the planet. And I came out of a meditation a couple of days ago, and well, actually, let me just back up here a bit. I have a brother that lives in Toronto, and this is what this story is about. It's about our brothers, right? So my brother that lives in Toronto, my only brother, we have not gotten along most of our lives, as most brothers don't, right? And I've only reached out to him within the last few years, and in my healing, I've told him, I love him. I've given him lots of, sort of wisdom or the the knowledge that I'm gathering in my head, he had quit his job just before the pandemic. So he has been on unemployment this whole time through the pandemic.
Wow.
And he lives in Toronto. And now he's he's out of money. Like they cut off his unemployment, and he's been living on credit, and now he's running out of credit. He's got no money. And I sort of knew this, but I wasn't 100% sure of his finances and stuff like that, right? I sent him a video on Wednesday, I believe it was, and it's this lawyer, the one that I was speaking to you about. This lawyer is speaking on behalf of, I guess it's thousands of lawyers on the planet who are challenging what they are calling the COVID scandal. And it's powerful testimony. This lawyer is speaking for 10 minutes, and he's talking about how this is not a pandemic of the virus, it's actually a pandemic of the PCR. Basically have manipulated, humanity, and he names them, like it's the director of the WHO and like the World Health Organization, and a bunch of other people too. And they call it the second trial of the Nuremberg
2.0.
Nuremberg 2.0, right? And this is what is a scandal of. So I sent this to my brother because after I watched this 10-minute video, it gave me hope. It gave me, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, great. This might take 2 or 3 years before it goes through the courts, but people are finally going to see the truth and the reality, which the three of us know, right?
Right.
So I sent this to my brother, give him hope. And he sent me a text back, after he had watched it, and I could read in his text the stress he's under, because he was like, he was really happy to see this video that, the truth will be exposed. He's like, thank you, bro. Thank you for sending me this video. He said, this has to happen quickly. These fuckers got to go down. These pieces of shit got to go down, because I can't get a fucking job. All these agencies are asking me for the vaccine. And I sent him a quick message back. I said, bro, whatever you do, hang in there, man. Do whatever you got to do. Yeah. Don't put that fucking thing in your arm.
Just hang in.
Hang in there, right? Yeah. So
do it.
So yeah, and this was like Wednesday evening. So Thursday morning, which was yesterday morning, I meditate religiously, and I have been. I shouldn't say religiously, because religion's for people who are afraid to go to hell, and spirituality is for people who.
Hold on. But when you use it in the context that you're using it in, you're using it properly.
Yeah.
Because religious just means that you're doing something over and over again.
Yeah, I like to say regimentally. So it's better context for me. Pro Patria, brother, I love you. So my meditation practice is very regimental. I do it every single day. I never miss. And anyways, meditation, and in my meditation, man, I get this quick download. It's like, Bob, you have the ability to put food in your brother's stomach and a roof over his head until he gets his life together, until this all blows over and he can find a job. And I told him about you. I told him about you coming to live with me and stuff like that. And I said, I have the opportunity, and I'm networking with people who are of the same mindset. I said, we can find you work, like growing in the garden or whatever, right? And he's still like, I'm not sure, because I'm sort of setting some boundaries. I can't have alcohol in my house because of my predisposition to it, and I don't want to go down that road.
Completely understandable. I'm actually the same way. This is actually an anomaly that you saw tonight.
Yeah,
me actually having it,
and he totally respects that, and he's really struggling with his alcohol. But this is this whole pandemic is actually putting people, bringing us together collectively as we should, and it's actually bringing us to our dharma, to our purpose in life.
Nice. I like that you use that word rather than karma, because karma is very much over for a lot of people that are ascending. It's all dharma now.
Yeah, that's dharma. Dharma is your purpose, right?
So what's the difference?
Karma's your. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Cause and effect is karma.
Yeah.
And dharma is just.
Karma is like the contract you signed up to be here.
Yeah.
Dharma is like the contract you signed up to be here. This is your purpose. This is what I'm here to do. I'm here to be this.
Oh, okay.
And karma is what you do in this.
So it's what you do, and then what happens because of it.
Yeah. If you're a jerk, jerky things are going to happen to you.
Right.
But your purpose was to come here to learn some lessons. And
that's dharma.
And I'm telling you, I'm getting some dharma these days.
Your dharma is your purpose in what you're doing, like you said, and then your karma is along that dharmic path. I should say. I don't know why I said pass. Along that dharmic path, whatever you do, Newton's laws.
Yep.
Cause and effect.
Wow.
Do unto others, and that shall be done unto you.
Cool.
That's karma.
So I've offered my brother, like I had a lengthy, I never talked to my brother, never. Like we not on our birthday, not on Christmas, we never talk. Like the only time I talk to him is when I physically see him.
One of my brothers is like that too.
We always just text, happy birthday,
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, whatever, right? And so I had a lengthy conversation with him the other day, Thursday, because that's when I had this medicine. And we spoke for like 3 hours. And he's like,
Wow.
this is where I'm getting at with your song. So my brother, in our
circle.
conversation, and powerful. Your song hit the nail right on the effing head. He said to me, he said, Bob, my brother's name's Barry. He said, bro, he said, I've accepted Jesus back into my life. I'm wearing a cross again. And I said, that's great, bro. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And he said, Bob, I have been praying to Jesus for a miracle. And your phone call to me today is the miracle I've been asking for. So the gold,
That's beautiful.
the lead has been turned into gold, right?
Cool.
So yeah, and I
Lead and gold instead of lead.
that's it. And I am not, well, I am now, because I realize I'm ascending into the fifth dimension. I am not a person to invite people into my home. I've been living in this house for 16 years out in Durham Bridge. I've never had people over. I'm a hermit. I'm an isolated human being. And I've now invited this guy to come live with me. I'm now inviting my brother to come live with me, who's another human being I don't want close to me, but I love him now, so I am shifting. I am changing. What I did to my friend Val the other day, I would have kept that grudge forever. You know what I mean? And here I am the next day singing Ho'oponopono. And you know what I mean? Like,
Man, that's beautiful.
It is. It truly is, man. Like, I'm stepping into the power that you're talking about, this Stan Lee, right?
Yeah.
I'm stepping into my true superpower, and that is
Yes.
love, the highest frequency, right?
Yep.
Yes.
That's like, I never would have thought, I don't know, Abe, for all this thing, that suddenly I'd be thrust into this position where I'm going to be facilitating and networking a bunch of people to produce copious amounts of food.
And that's beautiful. I've been boasting you up, man. I said, man, this guy's so intelligent. Like, listen
Well,
to his idea.
I
And
mean,
it's beautiful. Like,
That's
man,
it. It's an idea.
and
And
if
I'm
you're
not
just-
a great farmer or nothing.
Doesn't matter, but if you're thrown into that idea came from the one mind,
Yeah.
right? It came in through
Let's
you.
hear this idea.
And this is your dharma, right?
Well, it
And so
is
now
my
you're,
dharma,
Now you're
yeah.
stepping into it.
Well, I'll give you a short and simple.
It's great.
I never intended to become a kid's teacher.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't keep a girlfriend to save my life. I've tried a few times. It never works. So I never had a family of my own. Doesn't look like
You got to figure out which chakra.
ever
that
going to
is.
get one. Maybe I will. Who knows?
There's a chakra
But
involved.
I'm a big kid. Exactly. Hey, I got a new family right here, man. Yeah, brother. So,
You're my family too now.
Yeah, man, exactly. So, long story short, I ended up becoming a really successful kids teacher for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And I taught other people too, but that ended up becoming my specialty. And I just walked into it and I became pretty good at it. And I don't know, I don't know. Anyways,
I could actually see it. Not to lie. Like,
it's
yeah.
ridiculous, man. I'm like,
you have that demeanor. It's
yeah,
you're the perfect amount of soft but hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I could never actually teach little kids
Me
because
neither.
I'm just
Yeah.
2 RCR.
We're 2 RC. That's it.
Oh,
That's
man.
it.
I'm
That's
2
it.
infantry. It's just
Yeah.
like when I talk to people, it's like, listen, it's this or it's this. Like, what the fuck do you want?
well, it's
Yeah,
funny
that's
because
it.
I was
know.
born
I
and bred
know.
to be. I find it funny, and I was born and bred to be military. Like, I know, God love him, but I know my dad will never be completely satisfied with whatever I do in life because I didn't join the military.
Oh,
You know,
sorry
and I
to hear
won't,
that.
and that's okay. I mean, he was an engineer. He was a hardcore engineer. I mean, and he was great at it. And he loved it. You know,
Yeah.
and all his buddies, they loved it. That was
Gun ho.
Yeah, the old days. You know, in the '60s and '70s and '80s. I mean, and '90s too.
Back when you used to get beat when you talked to your sergeant the wrong way.
Yeah, that guy. And all those guys are all beaten, broken because, you know, jobs that would be like a 6-man job now was like a 3-man job in the '70s, right? You know. Anyways, long story short, the reason I didn't join the military was the first Canadian who was killed in Bosnia, Sergeant Mike Ralph. I used to babysit his kids, and he taught me how to run and train and, you know, do, not that I did marathon running and stuff, but yeah, he was kind of like an uncle to me, you know.
blown up in a Jeep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. In Bosnia, and that was it. They closed the the wall came down in Germany, right? And so I used to go out and just do the lawn work and stuff for the family, and babysit the kids and stuff. Anyways, and that just kind of, the universe, for whatever reason, just took me away. Because I mean,
I'll tell you what happened. You have, in a past life, you've already done that job. Right?
Yeah.
maybe that makes
That
sense.
makes a lot of sense.
So in this lifetime, you're like, sorry, Dad, I've already done that. You're like, man, I got other things to learn.
Because it was all going that way, and that was what I wanted, and that was the way it was going to be. And then that happened, and it just went. So, anyways, I became a kids teacher. I never intended to. It just that, and then I did it for 20 years. Then I got into this car business and got into sales and learned about the corporate world and all this kind of stuff. And then the lockdowns happened, and it was like the universe just went, no, you don't.
That's what the universe is doing to everybody on the planet
Yep.
right now, forcing us into our
True path.
I've learned from
And now look
that
where you are.
experience to don't do what you don't want to do. Do what you want to do, and utilize, kind of, if that's the way life goes, go with it. That's what I learned about the teaching. After a while, I kind of realized, don't fight it. Just do it. You're good at it. The kids love you. What the hell? You're getting paid. What's wrong with that? And it was great.
Yeah.
And thinking back, I was like, yeah, what was I thinking? But hey, obviously, for some reason, the universe wanted me to do something different, and it took me in this different direction. So now I'm recognizing early, for whatever reason, I've got this passion, this dream, and I always wanted to do it. And I love the permaculture kind of idea and food forests and growing what we have here and all these things, these opportunities are being in this position. So I'm not going to fight. I'm going for it. Because I know it's like
Surrender to the
it's
divine.
and it's not a debate. I don't have to feel like, oh, is this going to work? It's like, well, I didn't come up with the idea. It's been working for 10,000 years or whatever the hell it is. It's not like I'm some genius.
Generations are the only ones that think that we're smarter than nature.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only been like the last 50 years where we're actually, or maybe 100 years or so.
Yeah, and when it comes to growing food,
prove us wrong every single time.
Yeah. So like,
Always will.
and that's one. I remember. Yeah. Well, I had a buddy. I remember a couple of us, and it was my two friends. And they're both quite high-level jiu-jitsu guys, and I had just started. And we were sitting around playing some music and singing, and one guy was telling me about his jiu-jitsu journey, and he was a big guy and used to fight and stuff, and a real scrapper, and he got into jiu-jitsu and thought he'd try this different thing. And there was these two brothers he used to wrestle with, and he had one move. I don't even know what it is. He called it the paper cutter. And he used to be able to beat him every time, right? Because he's this big, strong guy, native warrior, cool cat. Anyways, but they kept training, and they were getting harder and harder to beat. But he had that one move that would always work. And then one day, his move didn't work, right? And then it got to the point where they beat him every time. And, it was on the page had turned, right? And he goes, man. I just thought, well, if you can't beat them, join them. So he started studying jiu-jitsu, right? And, ended his journey. And I always thought that was kind of cool, like, you can't beat them, nature.
No.
So join it.
Yeah.
It wins every time. So why not be on the winning side? Right? And this idea of and that's why we know we're going to win this situation with the pharmacology and the scientism and all that stuff, is they're trying to control nature. Rather than utilize it. Let it do what it's going to do what it's going to do.
That's right.
So get on the winning side anywhere. And let's face it, the greatest scientists, the greatest discoveries are that. It's always the same. What do they call it? The beautiful. There's a beauty in theories and theoretical equations and stuff.
Oh, you're talking about the Fibonacci code.
Well, no, everything in science in general. If you've got a mathematical theory, you've got a theory of physics, you got a theory for chemistry. They say it's super simple and works every time. Guess what? Your theory's probably not that good, and it won't work. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it has
complicated. It's not going to be able to be replicated.
Yeah, there's a math on how to generate. Well, how many pulleys you need to move things, right? And it's not super complicated. It's simple, but it works every time. And it's like, like you said, the Fibonacci code. It doesn't have to be crazy. So
Fibonacci
anyways,
sequence, I think
sequence,
is what it's
yeah.
called. Sequence.
Yeah.
So the idea, what I'm up to is basically just getting a bunch of people together and just pooling our resources. Like, and so I'm a guy really wanted to get into farming and wanted to do it for years. I'm doing all the homework and watching my sister and the great success she's had and other farmers and people in the permaculture world, people in the industrial world, you know, and I'm not necessarily about it's got to be permaculture, it's got to be this, it's got to be this, got to be that. Because I'm saying, you know what? What do I know? I'll listen to anybody. That's how I approach music, you know, and just tell me, you know, and we'll take what works and what doesn't, you know. Now, granted, I'm leaning on the permaculture side because, again, permaculture doesn't say we know exactly how this works. No, when it really comes down to it, they're just like, let's do what nature says to do because nature works.
Yeah.
So I find
Nature always wins.
so yeah, so that's the concept is get together, you know, and find out what the soil's like. And yeah, you can amend the soil to some degree, but also my kind of thing is we'll find out what plant likes that soil the way it is.
Have you ever heard of Zach Bush?
No.
Zach Bush, he's a doctor, and he has the same sort of philosophy as your sister, the no-till method.
Yeah.
In fact, she may have learned it from him.
Yeah.
That's what he talks about, because when you're not switching out the crops,
Yeah.
the nutrients aren't being utilized properly,
Right.
and when you're tilling the soil, you're disrupting the nutrients.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
yeah. So he talks about rotating the crops. So, like, say for instance, one type of plant uses, you know, most of this type of nutrient from the soil. Like, I don't know all the chemistry.
Well, here's a
behind it.
classic is the nitrogen fixer. Bushes, and I was telling you, I was reading about all the bushes. Things like raspberries, elderberries, haskaps, those sort of things. And also beans are a nitrogen fixer. So
Fixers for the soil?
Yeah, corn needs a lot of
sucks it.
nitrogen.
Yeah.
So that's why you got to put all this nitrogen fertilizer in it. But if you say, well, I can sacrifice a little bit of corn by putting some beans and squash in with it.
Which you don't even need corn because your body can't even process it, so there's no reason for us to even grow it.
Well, I kind of felt for a
Theoretically.
while. But again, through one of the journeys, I looked in and found about, well, how did the natives produce food here? And when I say like the natives, I don't mean like the natives. I mean the Maliseet. No, I mean the Maliseet.
Oh, here.
People who lived in St. Anne's Point on the Woolastook, the people of the Woolastook.
Okay.
How did they farm? So I did some digging and I was actually looking for history about old government house and the old burial grounds and wasn't having much luck. And ended up finding this paper from an archaeologist, UNB, basically saying, we got to revisit how we think, you know, the traditional view, how you think the indigenous culture of the Woolastook was. In other words, it wasn't all hunting and gathering. Like there was a time, they're like, no, these guys here had mastered corn, in particular during the mini ice age, because it's a microclimate here. You know, it's
Yeah.
you know, and you go out to Stanley, it's a little cooler. You go to Armagh, it's a little cool. But there's something about that little valley. So they figured out, hot place, grow corn. You know, and of course they had traded maize and they used the Three Sisters methods, and they used these big mounds so that in the early and late season, the frost would go into the deep ditches, not in there, right? And also, and this is real a trip, they had a way of, I don't know what they did, and this is where I got to do some digging. They used to eat it in the spring when it wasn't ripe yet, and there's certain things you can make when it's not ripe. And then when it is ripe, you can roast it and do all the normal stuff how we typically eat it. But also when it's starting to rot, there's another thing. So they knew how to do it in the different stages. And there was ground nut and all kinds of other stuff. And again, they used the Three Sisters method, which is the corn, the beans, and the squash. Your corn grows super tall, likes the heat. The beans, which is the nitrogen fixer, and it's something to do with the rhizomes, it helps absorb the material. But they also grow up the corn stalks. So they make the corn stronger, so it's more wind resistant. So you get that. And then the squash is your ground cover. So it keeps it from drying out. So it's like genius, right? Yeah, and
So it's all interwoven. It sounds like it's all interwoven into each other.
Totally, yeah.
And we all, nowadays, we grow everything separately.
Yeah, because you want more corn, you want more beans, you want more squash, maximum.
But you don't get good stuff.
And it's the way it's like I'm gonna grow fertilizer,
I'm actually allergic to corn, eh?
right? Well, that's it. It's not for everybody, right?
It's actually not natural to the planet.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, I heard.
Neither
that.
is marijuana,
I don't
actually.
know who he was, but he was an Egyptian pharaoh. They call it like they started out the corn people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I don't know the whole story. Like I might be skewing it here a little bit, but apparently this modified it to turn into corn. That's what the corn people did. And what they did, and this is a tradition with a lot of the indigenous too, still today, is they plant corn for 7 generations.
Oh, wow.
So they're always thinking about 7 generations ahead of them. So they're great grandchildren, right? You know what I mean? So the corn that they're growing, or the crops that they're growing, they ensure that the seeds from that crop are going to be still fertile for the next 7 generations. Right?
Awesome.
And
Really?
a lot of those farmers still have that same.
Yeah.
They think about the future.
Yeah.
Whereas when you think about how our society in North America is run, they don't even think about the next generation.
Yeah. They
Everybody
don't even think
thinks
about
about
next year
themselves.
barely. Yeah.
Say that again, Brian.
Everybody thinks about themselves.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
And especially us in the military, one man, one kit. That really came apparent to me today, or not today, just recently. One man, one kit. I realized I've been out of the military for 20 years. I have been that person. Touch my fuck. It's mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
Self-reliant.
Yeah, and
I never thought about it that way.
I never realized it until just recently. I was like, man, I gotta have more of an open heart. I gotta start sharing.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, one man, one kit, man. Where's your kit? Where's your kit? No. I would have never opened my house to you, Chris.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. And I'm not the type, it's funny, I'm not the type to be like, hey, can I, but it's like, yeah, it's funny.
I realize
Trying something different.
We as a race of people, as humanity, we are ascending into that fifth dimension.
Yeah.
And in order for us as a human race to embrace this new fifth dimension, every one of us has to do what I'm doing. And because I'm doing it, I'm leading by example.
Yeah.
I'm offering you a place in my house, which most people wouldn't do, but more people have to start doing this. We have to start loving our brothers and sisters and our neighbors and stuff like that, sharing our resources, and not being better than your neighbor, buying the bigger car, the bigger house. No, we don't. No, we need to go back to the grassroots stuff and bartering and sharing. And
I'm hoping we have so much food that not only are we all going to be fed, that we're going to have to watch that we don't overeat, be such a good, healthy food, but we'll have some to sell to other people. But also, another dream I kind of had the other day, I have these little waking dreams, ideas, but they're sort of like waking dreams. I went, wouldn't it be awesome is if we had these food banks that were completely supplied by excess produce, local people.
Yeah, and that would not
In
be
other
hard
words,
to achieve at all.
Because that's an important service.
That's a good
But
idea.
also when you get people into it, folks who rely on these things, some of it's income, but some folks who are in drug addiction, alcohol addiction and stuff, looking for purpose. How many of some of those folks are bound to go, you know what? This stuff's pretty cool. Where do you do this? How do you grow? What do you do? Oh, well, why don't you come out to the farm one day, and have that, and you might be able to actually start taking people and going, oh, well, the reason you're strung out on this, and that, because you got problems, maybe it's abuse, who knows. But also a lot of us, someone like myself, I know a lot of my mental stress and duress is because I don't fit in to our modern society. I don't like it. And I don't morally align with it.
Yeah, and that's
Right?
a very big hurdle to overcome.
Yeah, but I do morally align with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That works.
And I guarantee you, if more people on the planet ate organic, non-GMO food, their brain neurons would change, and we wouldn't have as much depression. We would have more confidence in the way we carry ourselves and the way we function as a society, most of us are on autopilot, and we're being told how to think, or we're being told what to think and not how to think, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because of all of this toxic chemical that our bodies are being exposed through our food, through our air, through our water, through everything. When we get rid of all that, and it will happen, we are going to start eating like we are designed to eat, which is
There's 4 things that we're designed to eat. This is my theory. And it also depends on your body type and your blood type as well.
totally.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
if it's not meat, fruit, vegetables, or water, it shouldn't go in your body.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
even like some of those plants that we kind of turn into wheat and stuff like that, maybe that can kind of classify as actual, like a vegetable or something different. But if it doesn't grow in the ground or come off of something that grows in the ground or walks on it.
I'm sure, though, if he had the right chemist, he could probably take a healthy, organic, homegrown strawberry and refine it into some sort of poison that could kill you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well,
if you give him the opportunity, right? It's that idea of
rotten,
like,
all you got to do is let it rot.
and I kind of wonder if that's kind of the thing with wheat is, well, where did we go wrong, you know? And it's something I don't know much about, but I'm hoping
doesn't seem
I
like we
have
should eat it.
a little spot that I think my buddy's going to let me use. And I'm going to go talk to some people who grow this stuff, but also I want to find out, well, you know, and how much do you really need? I mean, do you need like how much bread? Acre?
I know. Yeah,
And there's some neat ways. For example, one interesting thing is
Sourdough bread's not bad.
sourdough, but there's another way
I eat sourdough once in a
where
while.
there's no yeast bread.
Yeah, you had mentioned.
Yeah. So what you do is you take your bread and you make your dough, your flour, your water, and also there's
That sounds like sourdough.
depending on the mill you use, there's a way where they use like steel mills where it grinds it super, super small and it changes the glycemic index. But when when you grind it with stone, it's thicker. It's not the same. Okay. So that's one of the things that really changed it. So you can have stone ground, but then the other thing is what they'll do is they'll take this bread, your flour, water, salt. That's it. No yeast. You sit it on the counter and you leave it for 2 or 3 days.
So it ferments.
The natural yeast, in particular, there's people are doing it in a lot of different places. There's a fella somewhere in New England, he's got quite a high-end bakery, and that's what he does. And of course, the thing with yeast is you put it in 45 minutes, it's raised up, boom, you got bread that day, you're good. But the whole point is it's for industrial production, mass quantities of it and stuff. But if you leave it for 2-3 days, the yeast will naturally get there and it naturally rises. But the difference is in that process, through a sort of a fermentation or something else, it breaks down the gluten.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Naturally. So when you eat it, it's not the same thing.
That makes total sense.
So it's something, as a guy who I love wheat, I love bread, I was a baker, I'm good at it. I used to bake bread when I was 12, you know, like I could do it in the fire, I could do it in the woods. I had my buddy, him and his aunts used to make bannock, you know, in the reserve and beat Chilliwack, and there was on the reserve. Anyways, you know, we'd go down to the river and she'd always make us bannock and they'd show us different stuff. And, but I remember we were making it with Bisquick and I was like, what are we doing here? Like, you know, it just doesn't seem like traditional, but I get the idea, you know, and so there's different ways. For example, one is you can make flour of acorns.
Acorns. Oh, I've heard
Yes.
that. Yes, I have. I just recently saw that.
Yes.
Just recently saw that on YouTube.
Me and my little nephew
Wow,
watched
that's
an
awesome.
acorn thing. Yeah, you soak them. There's different ways.
Yeah,
So there's even I was talking to some guys today about cattails. So for example, cattails, you can eat many things off a cattail.
What? I didn't know that.
Oh yes, and if you think about it,
Soak 'em again.
yeah. Well, and they're good for that too, right? They're good fire starter when they get dry.
Yeah.
But when they're young, the inner core, don't quote me on this, I think this is how it works. When they're young, the core of the stalk is edible. Like a lot of plants, sort of like a bamboo shoot, exactly. And then you can ink the pollen too, and depending on the season, it goes from the stalk to the top, the different things. And then late in the season, they have a tuber. underneath, like a potato type thing. It's
Oh,
a,
wow.
it's like a thumb sort of thickness, and it goes side. Yeah. So you could, and I think maybe you could either cook it or roast it, perhaps make a bread or that.
I didn't know
So that idea of like bread always being wheat, and then you look at the different varieties of wheat, and you know, it's not just wheat per se. It could be like Kamut is really popular now. I don't know if you know Kamut flour. Do you know where that comes from?
I did.
This is fascinating.
I know nothing.
They found it
Based me like the fucking turkey I am.
in an Egyptian tomb,
That's right.
and it was thousands of years old. And they're like, wow, this is an old Egyptian grain. I wonder if it'll sprout. And sure enough, it did.
Really?
Yep. So, and then so now you can, what do we have here? Whether it's some sort of wheat, if it's a heritage, it's an heirloom, or if it's a local variety, or if it's not that at all. I mean, maybe just go with the acorn things, you know, they do grow here. But again, the problem is it's a painstaking process, right? So you got to sit there and crack them all, and you got to soak them, or you roast them, and blah, blah, blah.
But that's life.
But if you got,
That's just living, right? You know what
but,
I mean?
and it can be a pain in the ass, right? And that's what most people say. Oh, it's a pain in the ass. I don't want to do it. Like,
No, they'd rather
but-
buy a can of something. On the
but if you got 10 of your friends, or 20 of them,
That's what I mean.
right? And you have a
let's
Sunday
have a
afternoon party.
Yeah, this is life. This is living,
Exactly.
right? Like let's soak them. Okay, let's grind them. Let's see.
Yeah, you
That's what
know.
I'm doing anyway.
Yeah, and the kids
You know, like,
gather
all this-
them,
yeah.
and whether it's canning, so making these big
I
flour.
can't wait to do that kind
Oh,
of
it's going to be great, man. It's
It
exciting,
is.
and I think it's going to be, it's going to take off like wildfire.
I agree.
Because once it gets going, I've never been to an event like that where I didn't leave saying, I can't wait to do something like that again. Everybody's like, oh, that was super cool. That was super cool. And again, because I'm kind of the hermit type too. You want to, like, you know, I always want to work on my own projects and blah, 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 blah. And again, I got into hosting jams. I liked it. And it was like, and, you know, I didn't always like it all the time, but I never went home going, well, that was a waste of time. No, I always went
Now
home
everybody
just
on TikTok can see it.
full of energy and happiness and love. And it's like, yeah, no, so we're gonna do more. So that's the idea. Is I really have this food warfare,
I just did
Nice.
subversive warfare, where it's gonna explode, and we're gonna make it work, and we'll just the things that don't work, we're not gonna worry about it. We're just
change
gonna,
it,
yeah,
change
we'll just go. Okay, well, you're in the back burner. We'll come back to you when we got time. We'll figure out why you didn't work, or maybe you'll be next year. Maybe you'll be 5 years down the road.
Yeah.
Like we should always have 1 or 2 crops on the go that we don't think are gonna work, that we expect are just gonna like never happen.
Yeah.
And they're just lost leaders, because what if they do work?
I got a buddy across. Well, I shouldn't say buddy. He
Power in the numbers.
they're no longer talking to me because I'm dirty. You know, like they.
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
it's a shame. It's just really a shame, and I
They're
still
There
They'll
really
come
people,
around.
well, I'm
I
not actually surprised that people are talking like that, because there actually was somebody that I was talking to on TikTok that literally told me that she's going to have a party when all of the unvaccinated die.
I bumped into.
Not going to fucking lie.
I
Well, we'll
bumped.
see you in the next life, because that's what it's gonna be.
I bumped into an ex-RCR. He only served like maybe 3 years. Like I only knew him briefly when I first got in, and I
Is
saw
that
him.
really an RCR if he only served 3 years?
What's that?
Just kidding.
I didn't hear what you said. But
No, I said, is that really an RCR if he only served 3 years?
yeah, he might have served longer. I'm not sure, but he didn't serve.
Did he
very
go
long.
on tour? If he went on tour in those 3 years, he's an RCR.
Yeah, I don't think he ever did go on tour. He became an archaeologist, anyways. But I bump into him periodically here and there, right?
I shouldn't have said that.
And I bumped into him at Odell Park last summer, and I was very vocal about I'm not doing this. You're not putting that thing in my arm. And he was like, he signed right up, right? And I said, do you understand the agenda here? What Bill Gates is doing, trying to reduce the population and da da da. And he's like, well, it's all you unvaccinated ones that are gonna die. And I just looked at him. I was like, where are you, my brother, in that statement? Where
Yeah.
are you, my
Where's your truth in that statement?
Yeah, like
Where's
how
your
can
proof?
How could you say that to me, another human being, let
Yeah.
alone a fellow RCR?
Oh yeah,
RCRs never pass a fault, you know that, right?
never pass a fault.
Never pass a fault. So
No, one of us going,
he went his way.
Oh,
Yep.
And I went my way back to,
Awesome.
and I know he wasn't. I know he was walking in anger, right?
I have actually a buddy of mine, an RCR buddy of mine, just like that. And he was actually, I was on the phone with him for like 3 hours. And he was just like, man, it's your duty. You got to do that. One of his arguments was, if 82% of the people in the country say that they're going to do this, that means that you have to do it regardless of whatever.
No.
I'm like, no.
And what if
Free will?
What if 100% of the people on the planet took the needle and it was the wrong decision? There's the end of humanity,
Exactly.
Just
Right?
like that.
right?
Even if
Just like that. So we have to. They can't manage. We have to have. I mean, our greatest survival is our diversity within humanity,
Yeah.
right? So if there wasn't diversity, if we all just jumped off the fucking bridge, that's the end of it, right?
Like a lemming.
That's it, right? But if there's somebody who's saying, well, I don't know, man, about that, I don't know. You go.
Yeah.
You want to go,
Yep.
you go, right?
Here's the one thing I want to say right now, actually, before I lose it. This is all I'm going to say. No matter what any doctor has ever prescribed to you, it only was ever prescribed for your symptoms and not the
cause.
actual problem.
Yeah.
And the actual problem, no matter what it is, other than even a broken bone, really, because all we do is put a cast on it, only gets solved with water and sleep. Because your body can regenerate just like a lizard's tail can, but just a little bit slower and a little bit differently.
That's right. The body has the power that made the body has the power to heal the body, right? Yeah. Like you just listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah,
and
man.
I went to one of
Are
his
you on
events.
Gaia?
Yeah, I watch Gaia all
Did
the time.
you did you watch that whole series? The name of the series is escaping me right now. He has this series on Gaia, and
Dr. Joe Dispenza?
and he goes through the human body. He even explains how the chakras work in the third dimension,
Yeah. I do this.
and how to push your sexual energy up your spinal cord into your pineal gland.
Yeah, I do one of his meditations. It's called the Blessings of the Energy Centers. And what you're doing is you're taking that energy
Yep.
from your base chakra up through your solar plexus, up through your sacral, solar plexus, up through your heart, up through your throat, up through your third eye, out your crown, and into it's called the eighth energy field, right?
Yep.
There's like 7 chakras. This one up here, which is about 18 inches above your head, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this. It's called the Ka. The Egyptians called it the Ka.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do is,
The center of the toroid.
yeah. So when you know what your perineum is? Your perineum. So like when you're, like say you had to have a crap really bad, you'd be pulling on that muscle to get yourself to the toilet real quick.
Yeah.
So that's the perineum. So what you do is you squeeze that perineum, like you literally squeeze it, and you squeeze the perineum, the sacral, the lower abdominal muscles, and the solar plexus, the upper abdominal muscles. So those 3 muscle groups, they're called the intrinsic muscle groups. Did something just shut off?
Not the PA. No, it was weird. Might have been just a static.
It sounded like a
build up or
glitcher,
something.
yeah.
Static or something. So he
Seems
calls
like
them-
it's still working.
They're called the 3 intrinsic muscle groups. So you squeeze these 3 intrinsic muscle groups, the perineum, the lower and the upper abdominal muscles, while you're envisioning that energy going up through your heart, through your throat, through your third eye, out your crown, and into the Ka. And I'm telling you, it changes the energy in the body. It brings you into a more loving vibration, because most of us are programmed. Most of us are programmed to be resonating in those lower 3 chakras, is to be worrying, is to be fearful, is to be judgmental of others, judgmental of ourselves,
dimension.
critical of others, critical of ourselves. And that's all those lower emotions, right? So when you start doing these practices, these meditations, or the blessings of the energy centers and all that kind of stuff, is what you're doing is you're transmuting all those lower frequencies that we've been programmed to be judgmental and all that stuff, and you change it. And you no longer resonate at that. You start resonating at... you start resonating in creation, in Kriya. You start resonating in love. You start resonating in sharing and helping and being up here, being in here.
Wow. Awesome.
And seeing.
Inviting your fellow brothers to come live with you when they
Yeah.
seriously.
When they need it.
When they need
Well, that
it,
was
right?
funny because I remember, it's like, talking about we're used to being in positions of strength and not being vulnerable, not doing that. And that one night we were all talking at a meeting there, and it was like, I don't know. Something just said, yeah, man, let it all out. Just lay it out in the line. What's the worst that could happen? And yeah, nothing bad. It was all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. And just the more good and the more good's happening, the more. I had another meeting with some great guys today. And, one was a carpenter and a buddy who's a welder. So I've cemented the plan to get all those tools together. And I've been looking into hand tools, Japanese hand tools, and making all the tools we need. Yeah, something zipping and zapping there. But, oh,
Something to do with that
yeah.
speaker?
What's that?
It's coming out of that speaker, so something to do with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes they will get a weird static charge or something going through, but maybe our energy is just incredible, and we're just.
Well, there is an
man.
electrifying energy in this room. I can feel it right now.
Yeah.
Or this garage, I should say.
Yeah.
Like
Same.
it's yeah.
Yeah, I feel
So
it
there is,
too.
and that's the first time that's ever happened. And that's those speakers have been through a lot. Like I've thrown concerts with those speakers.
You can do it, boys. We believe in you. Made in Canada.
Those
Yeah.
750 mains, man. Those have been my best friends.
No, it's going to be cool. I'm looking forward. It's going to be an interesting year, and it's going to be really positive. So now I'm at the point. Now it's going to be okay. I've got to start. Now it's going to be on paper. Going okay. I got to just get a little more organized. And I've been again watching some things, looking at different tools, and beauty is. In many ways, we're way ahead of the game, and that's the key. I think to this is to making it just like anything. If you want it to be a fun experience, it's the more prepared you are, the easier it is to wing it.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it.
And you can always wing it. I'm good at working under pressure, but I also know that when you're well prepared for this sort of thing, then we'll be able to enjoy all the little cool mistakes and things we're going to learn and all that.
That's true.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Like, for example, it's weird. I picked up, my buddy had some lights and he wanted me to pick them up that I'd lent him. So I picked them up tonight and he goes, yeah, I got this chainsaw. I really don't need it. I don't really want it. You can just pay me whenever. And it's like, yes, I will take that chainsaw. And I've been kind of thinking that in the back of my mind a while back. I'd see what a digital world, the pawn shop or something. I was like, geez, I should get a chainsaw because, it's the sort of thing that every once in a while, especially going into the spring, like we're going to be thinning out a lot of stuff. And I was talking to the guys today about feeding chickens and making fencing. So there's ways you can take trees. So there's one, you can actually make chicken feed from trees. And like you'll take like a tree that's kind of a nuisance tree sort of thing, and you cut it off kind of at a certain height. And what it'll do is, of course, it just sprouts out all these different things, right? Well, you can make feed for your animals out of that.
Oh, wow.
Or even just provide feed for the birds.
Yeah.
Like, if you want partridges, you want animals, you want wildlife, who knows, whatever, right? You want those flocks of birds coming in, spreading seeds or whatever. Well, there's ways to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And another really cool thing is there's an old British method for fences, and you'll still see them to this day. I remember stumbling upon this one day, and they said, and it was they go for walks. It's a big thing in England, right? And for example, here it's popular to go. Give you a long story short, I was watching it was a thing about could there be Bigfoot in England? And you're like, well, yeah, there's like people everywhere. The population that would be impossible, right? Turns out there's tons of sightings.
A Bigfoot in England, yeah. I know.
Yes, all over the place.
All over the planet.
Yeah, but
I heard a theory about
explaining
this. I want to tell this theory
they were
after we're
explaining
done.
about, he's like, well, how could they? He goes, but how could they possibly exist in England? It's so popular. He goes, well, you got to understand the culture. Like people love the outdoors in England, but when you go to a part of England, people go down the trail. They go to the campsite. That's it. Like that's how they like to do it. Same within Germany. People, they go on Volksmarches. People, they love the trail. They go to the campsite. They don't go bushwhacking. They just don't do that there. It's just
Only
not part of it.
RCRs do that.
Yeah, I'll never forget. We were hiking up Mount Carl, me and my sister, and we heard this noise. We're like, is that a freaking bear? And it was these two army bucks. These kids just were going straight up. No switchbacks, going straight up. They had 2 backpacks of beer. They're like, hey, what a beer? We're like, sure. We had a beer with them.
That sounds like an RCR.
That's us. Yeah. And then we saw them on the way
I'd do
down.
that.
It was classic, We're like,
Feline.
this was their Sunday afternoon, exactly. But so the idea, that's what they do. So there's tons of wildlife in England because people don't go in there. So there's tons of hares and there's fish in the waterway. And so there's a lot of land. And anyways, so on these walks, you'll see these a big fat tree, all these, and it looks like sideshow Bob kind of thing, like a big tall tree with just all this stuff sprouted on the top. And what that's from is they would do that on purpose. You would take a tree and cut off the top so it would force it to do new sprouts. And then when they got to a certain length, like a mic stand type thing, you cut that off, and that they'd use that for weaving into the fences.
Oh, a live fence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if you
living
have
fences.
4 or 5 of those on your property, there's your fence for free.
Yeah.
And I remember mentioning it to 2 of these guys. I was talking to one of the fellows at work about that. And I went into the boss's office, and the boss and this young fellow, and they both build new houses. And he's like, "What the hell were you talking about?" He says, "Oh, well, I was talking about these trees and growing fences." And they looked at me like I had 7 heads.
Yeah.
Just like, what you talk? And I looked at them like they had 7 heads. Like, what do you mean? What am I talking about?
How do you not see that?
You both are building new houses, and you didn't think about like natural fences and like having free fence for the rest of your life? Geez, we're salesmen. You think you would have figured that out? But just that idea of so the chainsaw, being able to do the stuff like that, set it up.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody's a tree fell down. What are you gonna do? Or your place is in danger. What are you gonna do? Well, having a chainsaw around to chop it out, but then also be able to use it. Do hugel culture, which is where you actually bury a log, and then as it rots, it absorbs moisture. All the mycelium are in there, and that's an old way, and they last for ages. Like you'll get a decade out of that. And after 10 years, the log's not there anymore. So you dig the trench, you put a new one in, and it's a natural way in places where they don't have a lot of water that it will just retain the water under there. So one of those things where that tool popped in. I was like, well, you know what? Chainsaw to most people would just be nothing, a little firewood. But to me, that's like, no, I can think of a million things to do with that. Yeah. Like down at the boat club, the yacht club, there's all this driftwood and stuff. And they don't do anything with it. I'm thinking, well, man, I'm thinking all kinds of stuff I could do with it, let alone firewood. But I could make stands, almost like chairs and benches, and holy crow!
I'd like to get my hands on some of that.
Yeah, well, that's what we'll do.
But
we'll get it, and I'll chop it. Now we got a chainsaw.
You're not even allowed to touch it. That's the other thing too.
What do you mean?
Well, I would think like, wouldn't the city have some kind of a rule in place where you're not allowed to grab that stuff?
Oh, no, because down there, we got to get rid of it because, like, for example, I have a picture of it somewhere. Somebody's like, yeah, man, you got some driftwood on your boat. I'm like, what? So, okay. So I went out, and how it works, you got my boats on the moor, and there's a little line that goes to the boat, and, just kind of, the current's going this way, it points this way, it goes that way, it goes that way. And I saw this picture, and he showed me there's like a little bit of wood. And I went, oh, okay, well, it'll be all tangled or something. So I got out in the dinghy with one of the fellows who was there. And it was a friggin' tree, almost as long as this room, huge, with these great big branches. Must have been an old elm or something. Huge. The branches were 10 feet long. And there's like 5 or 6 of them. And it had just floated down the river and just, like, here's the rope. And imagine this big gangly tree, and it just went, boop. And wasn't tangled. It was just sitting there.
Just sitting there at the keel, at the front of your boat?
Yep. And not even on the boat, on the rope.
On the rope.
And it was just enough that it had like a little arm, and it must have went. Boom. Wow. So when it went the other way, it would, boop. Wow. So when we got in the boat, I just kind of went push, and it went whack, and there it went. So we drug it and we tied it onto the side of the river. And there's tons of them because it just goes out and runs into people's boats. They're hazards. You got to watch out for them, And if you're water skiing or something, they're super dangerous because you don't see it until it's too late, and you don't realize there's this big friggin' 30-foot tree under the water. So no, we haul them out on the side. And you got to get rid of them. And
that explains all the silt in the New Brunswick's fucking river system.
Oh, geez, yeah. So
we are pretty much a swamp.
Yep. So I'm gonna go down. I'll have that chainsaw. And I'll be hauling out pieces. We'll use them for stuff, art projects, and benches, and frames, and Lord knows. I was looking into Chinese greenhouses. This is a neat concept, and that they've come up saying this is really cool. Here's an anti-corporate idea right out of China. Just you don't hear that very often. So they grow a lot of food in greenhouses in China, right? And what they found was these greenhouses work terrible for like corporate agribusiness because they're too big, and if you make them too big, they don't work, and you need too many people, and it's impractical. So it's way more practical to have a mom-pop organization where you have like a long greenhouse, and what they do is they're passive. They require no power, no nothing. And they're in China, and it's just like here. It's Mongolia, it's freezing, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, and what they do is, I'm sure they have them there too, though. I've seen a guy in Edmonton who's a Chinese Canadian who got the idea from back home. It's like, hey, I think I can make this work. And he was growing Chinese vegetables for the local community in Edmonton, because they get their own vegetables that they like, right? So that's what he was doing. Anyways, what they do is they have kind of like a heat battery on one side, a wall, and that's the sun goes and heats that. And they have these, they go with kind of a really, instead of a steep wall, it's kind of like they'll take these kind of, I thought about, we'll just buy, they use plastic, but it's like a long wall. So it's really wide. Instead of having the greenhouse go both sides, you want that heat retainer on one side. The sun comes in, and we tend to have it, we go south facing, and they go east to west, so that it gets sun all day. And then it heats up that wall. And then at night, if it's the cooler season when it gets too cold.
Why do we do the opposite then? Not to interrupt.
Something to do with maximum sunlight, but they just changed it. They did it a different way. And then when it gets cold, they roll these thermal blankets over top, so that you don't have to have propane heaters and gas heaters and all this sort of stuff. Or if you're in a really cold region, you only got to supplement it a little bit. And there's even tricks where you build a cold well, so that all the cold air goes in the back of the cold well. And anyways, I guess they work great, and they're really suited for mom pop type organizations. So you got one family, you got a great big 100-foot greenhouse, and it's just enough for two people to kind of run, And so it's a neat idea. But the idea of taking that idea from them and saying, okay, well, that's kind of cool. Now you got to use the plastic and the poly and the blankets, which is fine. But I often thought about, well, geez, you could take a bunch of logs and stuff and make your back retaining wall and use that. And then either get some old metal, but I thought even just using like alder or something that's kind of bendy and, and if you get a year or two out of them, then you replace them every couple of years. And
what about, have you seen these geodesic domes?
Super cool,
Like
yes.
geodesic greenhouse domes?
Yes.
Like they've got a big, at the north end, like, so you place this geodesic dome, obviously facing north and south, and the back end of it is on the north side. And that back end has a big, huge tank of water.
Yeah.
And it's that water that keeps the geodesic dome in its ecosystem.
Right, because it functions as a heat battery.
That's right. Yeah,
super cool, eh?
That's what I've been looking into. I would love to have one of them on my property.
Oh, man, can you imagine, too? Like, I always thought, and some people raise fish in them. You could have a fish pond.
That's right, yeah.
And I thought, man, wouldn't that be like a cool hot tub in the winter? Just to heat it up, right?
Yeah.
Like, who knows? There's ways to kind of double function it, right?
Well, people are using them like as like meditation and yoga studios or stargazing studios. Like you have.
Yeah, because they put the glass on the top.
They put a glass right on the top, right? So you can go. Like I'm part of a CE5. Have you guys ever heard of CE5?
No.
Dr. Stephen Greer.
Oh yeah.
I know Stephen Greer.
Neat. Wow.
Yeah. So there's a group of us here in Fredericton that.
Oh really?
We call in the aliens and all that kind of stuff.
He's where I
cool.
learned that they're not actually aliens or interdimensional beings.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
I'm just using lingua.
That's
language
cool.
that
Most people wouldn't. Yeah.
Most people.
And see about those domes.
Pardon?
So they use like a translucent paint. So in the summer, when you got too much sun and it's going to get too hot, it's going to cook everything. They put this little bit of translucent paint on the dome, so it's not so bad. And then in the winter, when you want more light, it washes off.
Oh, I've heard that.
Isn't that clever?
That is clever.
Son of a gun, that is such
Wow.
a great idea. And you could use non-toxic material. You could probably use friggin' mud for all you. And you could use non-toxic material. You could probably use friggin' mud for all you know. I don't know. There's probably something a little more sticky than that, but clever, eh? And
very clever.
yeah, those domes are neat. It's super strong. Really good for our climate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that information. That was stuff I didn't know.
Yeah, and these
That's it.
geodesic domes, like they last like 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Really?
Yeah.
Like or more.
So it'd be interesting to know, how do you build them? What's the structure? There is people you can buy them from, and there's that.
Yeah, they're like for a fairly big one, like say 30-foot circumference.
Yep.
You're looking at 40 grand or something like
Wow.
that, right? Like it's a lot.
But
of money,
it's
right?
interesting for greenhouses. There is, for farmers in general, And you don't have to be a huge, massive agribusiness farm. There's grants for season extensions, and that's how you can get a lot of money to purchase these. Yeah. So then you can get like up to, I don't know how much it goes to, but a large chunk of it. So because you're saying, well, I've got this little garden, I've got my little market garden, and I want to extend my season. And this is the plan. This is what we're going to go with. And if they approve it, they go, oh, great idea. Yeah, it's cool. Here's your dome.
I know.
Cool.
I know a lot of those programs are out there. Like I even know there's a program there's programs through Veterans Affairs that can help with these kinds of things. But I also see we're moving away from the system.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
is it going to happen overnight? Is it going to happen in our lifetime?
It's going to happen in our lifetime. It's not going to happen overnight.
I agree with you, Brian. I think we're going to see it in our
within
lifetime.
25 years, this place that we call home is not going to look the
It
same.
won't be the same, and I think even less than 5 years.
That's the beauty. Is like the idea that when they say, "Oh, the soil erosion is too far gone," and it's just like that is all bullshit.
Yeah, when you listen to Nassim Haram talk about this paper that he's just about to publish,
Just think about how many nuclear winters have actually happened on this planet before we even arrived here.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. How many times have we told stories about asteroids and comets and all of these things annihilating everything on the planet? Like, look at all of the cities we're finding underwater.
Yeah, that's right.
That nobody's even talking about.
Yeah.
But
like
off the coast of India and
Easter Island.
Easter Island.
Those aren't just heads.
Those are full statues.
Those are full statues, like fucking 40 feet tall under the ground.
Yeah.
What I mean? They're only 10 feet of the head sticking out.
Yeah.
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers, but
how
did that get there?
How about how California isn't even part of this continent?
Oh, I didn't know that.
California isn't part of the North American continent.
I didn't know that.
Do you know how mountain ranges are formed?
When?
No, how?
How? Volcanic? No, I don't then.
Mountain ranges are formed from two different continental plates coming together, and
okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
if you look at all, that's why Europe and Asia are two different continents, and there's a mountain range in between them. Everywhere where there's a mountain range, you're going to see a separation of continents.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
So technically, India isn't even part of Asia because it's a different continent.
Yeah. At one time, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So all of these, like, that's why there's only those certain types of trees in California and parts of BC. Because California actually used to be part of what the continent called Lemuria was.
Lemuria.
Lemuria.
Yeah, I've heard of Lemuria.
And that's why they're saying that in Mount Shasta, there's beings there because we can't, because they use frequencies to keep humans away from us. We get sick when we go near there. There's reports of tall, white-haired beings coming out of there who look human.
Humans disappearing.
Yep.
All the time.
But it's said that those people that live in there are the last remnants of the Lemurians, which is the civilization of humans that were on the planet before the Atlanteans. Because the way it works is there's different ages of humans, or what we are. It started out with the Polarians, which were more etherical beings that were living on the planet when it was more molten. And then from there, it was the Hyranians. They started to get a little bit more physical, but they were very big beings, and the planet still wasn't cooled off. But by the time the planet actually cooled off, tall Cyclops-looking beings were around, and they were the Lemurians. And then slowly through time, things changed, and eventually the one eye turned into two eyes, and that went back into the pineal, turned into the pineal gland or something like that, maybe.
Yeah,
this is just the story I heard.
Yeah.
And then the Atlanteans were the first actual two-eyed beings, and they started getting smaller and smaller until they came to us. And then we are the next type of being. We are the Aryans. All of us, even the black and brown and red and whoever, we're all Aryans. And we're in the fourth or fifth type of Aryan race. And then so what it is there's 7 types of humanity, and inside of those 7 types, there's 7 ages. So it's all 7, 7, 7, 7. Goes along with the 7 deadly sins, the 7 holy virtues, or whatever they're called, right? And then
7 Seas of Rye.
Yep. And we're all
Queen song.
and we're all on our way out of that. So we're in like the 4th or 5th, like we said, we're slowly going to become more crystalline. And we have no concept of what even the 6th and the 7th type of man is going to be. And that's where we're all eventually going to end up. But once again, we have to get the wobble going away from the planet. Because apparently our moon isn't even supposed to be there.
Well, I know. Apparently, our moon is made by.
It's a spaceship.
Yeah, that's right. It's hollow.
That's what they say. They say that NASA fired a rocket at it and it rang like a bell for fucking however long. Yeah.
Speaking of something about the
Which
moon,
I doubt actually happened if you think about it,
Did you
because
see
if it's an alien spaceship, do you think they really let us fire a rocket at it? But they wanted us to know that it was
I'd heard
hollow.
another reason with the bell was where they had landed a lunar lander on there, and then they sensed that it like rang because of the lander, so it might not have been a rocket. But interesting thing, the Chinese government has a rover going on the moon right now, right? Which I kind of forgot. Yeah, they got one, and it sent back pictures, and it saw, and there was this.
Why isn't that on the news?
Well, I saw it on a little bit of news. Exactly. Well, and hey, they sent out a picture, and it was like off in the distance. It looked like a little square object, but when usually we see like a thing off in the distance, it's almost like it's like us looking at a mountain from super far away. It's like, oh, that looks. And you get up close, you realize that's a big fucking mountain, man. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure from like 1,000 kilometers away, Mount Everest doesn't. You're just like, oh wow, those look like some big mountains, and then you get up close, you realize some big ass mountains, man. And so there's this square shape, but it's because the rover goes so slow, it's going to take it. Is it 3 or 4 days or something to get there? So right now,
Big square.
So it could just be a rock, it could be whatever, it could
But
be
it's
light.
Square. There's nothing in nature.
Well, and that's it. But sometimes it's hard to tell because, from one angle it looks like a square, and then you go from another angle and you realize, or it's so far away it's hard to tell.
That's just like there's not a face on Mars.
Right. But it was enough that they sent the picture and that they're going to go do a 3-day journey. They're going to go check it out because it's enough to go, what the heck is that thing? So, yeah, I'm kind of curious about that one, but who knows what those boys will find up there.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
The other fun thing about the moon is all the craters are kind of around the same size or depth.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, interesting.
I didn't know that.
They might not be exactly, but if you notice a lot, if you like kind of think about it, and you think about all the craters on there, they're all kind of similar, and you'd think they'd go all the way in or something. You know what I mean? If it struck something like that, I don't know, it just seems a little bit weird.
Well, it's weird is like every once in a while they'll see something flying to a lot of the planets. Like there's one that gets a lot of them. I think I want to say Neptune. They just got hit by a huge asteroid.
Really?
I forget which one it is. Yeah, or it might not be Neptune. I can't remember which planet. It's one of the big gas giants. But the idea
Uranus.
is the thing is so huge that, it was like an asteroid the size of Denver or something hit it. And of course, it just barely made a mark. But in particular, one of those planets, that's because it's so big. That's what it tends to do is it draws in a lot of these items. But because I don't remember ever seeing anything hit the surface of the moon in my lifetime. Do you?
No, nothing ever has.
No, exactly. So it's like
that. It seems
so
like
it
seems like those dents came from the asteroid belt as it was flying through the asteroid belt to get here.
Right, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, which reminds me. Remember we were talking about Bigfoot?
Oh yeah.
I'm
obsessed with Bigfoot these days.
I heard a legend about the Sasquatch.
Yeti.
Those beings, apparently from one of these fun stories that I came across, may be true, may not be true, are actually from the planet that actually makes up the asteroid belt.
Yeah, dimensional beings.
And what happened was they were doing something kind of like the story on Mars. I think I might have been talking about it before, where they might have blown their atmosphere away, fucking with things they shouldn't have. But they were kind of doing some bad things on their planet, and they actually destroyed it. And their planet was about to blow up, and they were given sanctuary on our planet.
Oh, wow.
But they're not allowed to interact with us. Because a lot of what happened with us when we were talking about us being a slave race, one of the legends that I've heard is that we were created as a slave race. This is all going back to the Anunnaki and stuff like that.
Yep.
And what happened was eventually they wanted to give us the ability to reproduce ourselves, but we couldn't because we were more like mindless drones at first. But then the beings from Sirius, that's why everything points at Orion's belt in Sirius. That's why the dog plant, dog star,
All the Egyptian, all
everything is all dogs.
all the pyramids on the planet.
It's all pointing at,
they're all
because
that triple alignment, yeah.
Syrians, and when I say Syrians, I mean Sirius,
The planet,
yeah, or the star system,
But the star system.
because Sirius is a star, not a
that's
planet.
right.
The beings that house that are fourth dimensional beings, and they were working with the Anunnaki that were creating the physical bodies here to bring us a soul. And we were the ones, because they wanted us to take over the mining of the gold, because the Anunnaki got tired of doing it themselves. So they created us with whatever primate was around here. And then so they did that. They created us. They gave us a soul so we could reproduce on our own without them having to worry about it. And then we were going through that for so many times for so long. And then getting to the time of Atlantis when the flood happened, that's when what I was talking about last week, where they're like, okay, that's why they gave the planet back to us. Because we were actually fourth dimensional beings at that point, because we'd gotten our souls from Sirius, and they were fourth dimensional beings. But because we hadn't gone through our own proper initiation and evolution on this planet ourselves, and we were a slave race, the elders of the ancestors of the fucking ascended masters of the ascended masters of the ascended masters, they're like, okay, you guys want to fuck around and play with frequencies? Because I was saying one of the races that were here, one of the alien races was messing with the frequency that was actually the God frequency, like the actual source frequency. And they're like, you can't do that. And they were tearing holes through the space-time continuum, and lower dimensional beings were coming into this planet. So they're like, no. And while we're at it, you guys are going to leave. You're not allowed to come back for 13,000 years. You're going to give the planet back to the humans after you created them and just treated them like slaves. And then you're going to go away and you're going to let them ascend. That's why we have no clue who we are. We have no clue what we're doing, where we came from, but they're all watching us.
That's right.
And they threw the comets, and they have evidence of the comets hitting Greenland. And whether they threw them or they just kind of spiritually nudged them in the right direction in order to get to us, or however it happened, they did it with comets so there wouldn't be any evidence. It was ice hitting ice. So it was hitting Antarctica, it was hitting maybe Antarctica, but it mainly hit Greenland and wherever else, I don't know. Joe Rogan had all the guys on his podcast talking about where all these comets hit and all that thing. It's not Randall Carlson, but anybody, you guys can go look it up.
And Robert Chalk, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost had the name. But anyway, this is the spiritual side of the story that happened. They hit that. Noah's Ark, actually a submarine. And what it was Noah and his family. There's also stories of us, Mars and Venus, actually orbiting Saturn. And when Saturn came in to the solar system the way it did, you'd have to go into spirit science through Gaia and through YouTube in order to get this story too properly. But when Saturn came in, that's why it's called anyway, I'm going to screw some fucking shit up, but look into the black hole sun and what Soundgarden was actually talking about with the black hole sun, and start going down that route and finding out what the purpose of Saturn is, because I've even had a Freemason tell me to look at what the significance of Saturn was. And it all points back to the Earth, Mars, and Venus actually orbiting Saturn. And when Saturn got sucked into the Earth's orbit, we got shot off, and we got stuck in the orbits we are with the sun. And that's also when what was called Tiamat was destroyed, because that was the planet between where Mars and Jupiter is, which was also the Sasquatch planet.
Oh, wow.
And so that asteroid belt in between Mars and Jupiter is also a protective barrier. So Jupiter also sucks in most of the asteroids and things that are coming towards us, like you said, with the gas giants being in their gas giants. What's the fucking asteroid going to do that? Yeah. So like I'm saying, like our planet is set up perfectly and protected by everything around us. And also we have a sister and a brother planet, one of them which destroyed itself, and the other one, which apparently are all people living in different dimensions, which is Venus. That's actually where Nikola Tesla is apparently from.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah, he's not actually from Earth. He was actually from Venus.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Right? And Mars was actually a planet much like ours. But like I was saying in the other week, they in the future destroyed their planet. They did something to the atmosphere. I can't remember the actual thing. And on the way out, they created it was a Lucifer experiment. That's what the story was about Mars. It's something called the Lucifer experiment, where you cut yourself off from source, which is also why we feel like we are alienated and cut off from source, because we are also the remnants of the Martians who cut themselves off. Parts of us are. And they're the ones that were fucking with the frequency that might have fucking tore the space fabric, that pissed everybody off. Which I could be wrong about too. I don't know. I'm getting stories from all over the place. But they created because they forgot how to create Merkabah, which when they threw the comets at the planet, if we would have been able to remember how to create our own energetic Merkabah, we wouldn't have lost our memories. But we couldn't, so that's why we also lost our memories. We were also doomed to do it anyway, because we had to come up to Christ consciousness on our own in the shortest amount of time. And we had to do it 13,000 years, or else they were going to wipe the planet again. And one of the ways they're trying to wipe the planet this time is through pestilence, because the ancestors said, well, we don't really want a catastrophe again, but we have to cull the planet because you can't be going on this way with most of you the way they are. Yeah. So unfortunately, and you know this as an RCR, if somebody falls, you have to walk over the body and it doesn't matter. That's right. That's one of the things you learn as a soldier that's not very nice to talk about, yeah. But you have to be able to say, fuck it, they're dead, yeah. And then not paying any attention to it.
Yeah, we block it out. And that's where PTSD starts to happen, right?
Yeah, because humans aren't meant to do that.
Block everything out, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you have to feel it again. And then when you feel it, it's not just a flood of that incident, it's a flood of every emotion that you've ever repressed in your life. And that's why even when soldiers talk about PTSD, most of the time they're probably not even talking about the specific war. They're talking about everything that's going on around them at that time. They're talking about some of the memories and some of the feelings, but it's more like they're trying to find a way to take all of the trauma from their childhood and express it all at the exact same time. And that's why psychologists have such a hard time with fucking people with PTSD. And that's why nobody knows. That's why people like me and you are coming through the other side, and especially the spiritual side of it, have to be able to explain to these people what's going on. And then they have to start remembering that it doesn't matter about what degree you think you have. If you haven't gone through that problem, all the technical information you have from those books aren't going to matter fucking shit. That's why they think that they can fix us, and they start misdiagnosing everybody all the time. And that's why none of the pills or anything work. Because nobody actually fucking knows unless they've gone through it.
You see it in politics too, right? Like, I know some folks, they're these Marxists, and they're like, no, he figured it all out. And you see it in the psychiatrist. No, Jung figured it all out. Or, Freud figured it all out. And you're like, man, that was just a couple guys.
Just sitting around.
They had some great ideas.
Yeah.
But the idea that, you got it all sorted.
If you were to sit down with them,
that,
if you were to sit down with any of those men back in that time, they would probably look at you and be like, no, this is what I think I see, but I don't really fucking know because I'm just a human.
That's right.
Just everyone around them, maybe that's how they did
Well,
it.
done that too.
Yeah, who knows? Or a bit of both, right?
But right now, I can tell you right now that I will listen to any human on the planet, but I will never think that they have it all figured out.
Yeah.
No,
Those are the ones you always watch out for.
Yeah.
The ones who figure they're always right.
They're the dangerous ones.
Yeah.
There's no
They're
sense.
the narcissist type, yeah.
We don't have the capability in our limited capacity in this existence
That's right.
to know enough to be able to fuck with what we're fucking with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why I won't let a human fuck with my DNA.
Yeah. I agree
I'm
with
sorry. I understand what you want to do, and I understand the end game.
You. Yeah.
I get it, and I kind of support it,
Yeah.
but you're not doing it to me.
That's right. I agree.
You want to do it to,
That's the only way we're going to survive as a race is with this diversity,
yeah,
right? It's the only way.
do what you want. Like Elon Musk, go ahead, put a fucking microchip in that guy's brain if he wants it.
Or his arm.
Yeah, or
as a barcode
whoever.
Or whatever. Right?
But,
Yeah.
you know,
Doing it to
because
me.
eventually we may need that kind of technology because some things actually can't be fixed.
Well, that poor guy, I mean, it's just like, oh, we got to go to Mars. We got to do all this. We got to do all this. We got to do all that. And yeah.
There's already an
and I think,
internet portal to Mars.
How's your garden? Oh, no, well, we're going to have robots to do that for us because they think, oh, no, we're going to solve it. We're going to control all the variables and it's all going to work. And
No.
as
That guy-
opposed
that
to
guy-
that idea that, no, you're not.
That guy reminds me of Richie Rich.
Yeah.
The comic Richie
Well,
Rich.
he comes from an Emerald dynasty.
The reality
So
is,
the idea that like, oh, he sold PayPal and he's really smart, made all this money. Well, yeah, he did that too, but it comes from an South African emerald dynasty.
What does that mean? Like a
Like an emerald-
royalty?
like probably
no,
one of the
like
13
Emerald
families.
miners.
Oh, emerald mine.
They were
Yeah.
like emerald miners. So
Oh.
they owned all these emerald
Bas-
companies,
I didn't know that.
Basically,
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
13 families that run the planet.
Oh, really? He's one of them.
Yeah, exactly. He's just the smart
At this point in time, anybody with that much money
Yeah.
comes from those lines. Bill Gates,
Yeah, yeah.
Soros,
Yeah.
or not Soros, fucking buddy from Amazon there, Bezos,
Yeah,
sorry.
Bezos, yeah.
All of those guys, apparently, if you believe, and you see all the bloodline maps online and whatever they are, because that's the only place you're going to see them, they're all interconnected. Even Barack Obama is fucking half white. He was raised by his rich white grandmother and mother.
Mm.
And his dad apparently was some kind of a Muslim fucking whatever in Kenya. And there's also stories about him actually being part of Muslim Brotherhood and actually was abused as a fucking sexually abused as like some kind of an initiation or some shit or whatever, and then brainwashed and then placed in place where he was. One of the stories of him.
Here's there's a couple guys at a
If it's true.
podcast, I at least caught a couple seconds of it, and it was, what's his name? The guy who used to be advisor for Trump, Richard something, Brannon or whatever his name is. Anyways, it was Trudeau saying this little quote. Oh, he was releasing the thing about how we're not going to send diplomatic support to China for the Olympics or something. So I'm like, whatever that means, diplomatic support for the Olympics because of the. Anyways, and the guy goes, that guy's like the Manchurian candidate, then some, you know? And I thought, yeah, man, that is totally what it is, just the Manchurian candidate.
So we
You
brought
are
up
brainwashed, we'll just put you there, and you're just a hypnotic robot. Say what we ask you to say. Okay.
sounds about right.
Well, yeah.
So since we brought Trudeau up, I very briefly came across something on TikTok. Because do you guys know what trial's going on right now?
What trial?
Yeah, that nobody's talking about. Guess who's on trial right now?
Let me guess. You're referring to the Ghislaine Maxwell trial.
Yeah,
Okay.
Who?
She
Ghislaine
was
Maxwell.
Jeffrey Epstein's madam.
Oh,
Right?
Jeffrey Epstein,
Yeah.
Madam.
So the
She's on
big-
trial now.
She's what?
He's on trial right now.
Yeah, because he was blackmailing all these super rich and powerful people. That's what he did.
That's why he's dead.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go like this because I don't believe he's dead.
Okay.
It seems too convenient.
Okay.
It seems way too convenient.
That could be.
Yeah, you never know.
He could actually be
But
dead.
either way, he's not on trial. He's out of the picture. That's for
I've
sure.
heard he's not dead, but he might be dead. But
That's interesting. I never really thought of that. That they may have scooped him away.
I think they scooped
So
him
that
away.
they
It
would
seemed
because of course if you get somebody's got to break through technology and
because he was
it's
funded by the
leaning
13 families.
he was leaning like for
Prince
whatever
Andrew.
reason, yeah, and who
Apparently.
on whose behalf
We don't know.
Who knows?
Who
But that's the deal.
all of the people that are running the planet at the highest echelons, whether it be the 13 families, whether it be the big bankers, whatever it is,
BlackRock and Vanguard.
Yeah,
they're
exactly,
they're
exactly.
all of
And
those
that was
companies
probably
are
who was
all
funding it.
owned and run by the people. Like even Bill Gates, his dad was a Nazi eugenist, from what I hear. So that's why he's doing what he's doing, right? He practiced his theories on computers first to see if they would work, and then he started injecting viruses into the human populace. Yeah. And they've been doing it for decades. Like if what I've heard is true, right? Everything from polio to AIDS is actually man-made and was released on the public on purpose.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yep.
Right? Now, that's not very settling to hear, and it might not be true. And I will say that as a disclaimer, and I will also say that I'm not attached to that.
Well,
That's
why
one of
they
those
want
things.
Depopulation is because they've got too many workers, too many mid-level management. They figure they want to cull the herd and get it to a management level where when you actually have sustainable agriculture, you're not harming the land. You can feed way more people. The only thing is you don't need a ruling class.
And they want to be in charge.
We don't need them.
That's right.
Which brings us back to we put ourselves back into slavery because that's how we were
That's
programmed
also
when we were built.
Ho'oponopono.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, please forgive me. I thank you. I love you.
Yeah.
I always had this kind of idea like we're not really out to get the ruling class. We're out to free them
That's free them, yeah.
from their enslavement. Like they're stuck in a bad system and they've convinced themselves that their way's the highway and they're wrong. And the really sad thing is for them is the sooner they get on board with the real plan, the better off they and their ancestors will be. They won't be this weird exploitive desires they have. They'll be happy. They don't need to own all this. You don't need to own people. You don't need to own. That's the art.
They're not human. That's the thing, though, right?
Lost their humanity.
They lost their humanity. They're not human, and they feed on our fear. So when we are no longer resonating in the frequency of fear, and we raise our vibration and raise our frequency into that frequency of love, they no longer have control over us because love is going to shine.
You're
I just
trying
wanted
to
run out and have a quick puff.
trying to figure out what's going on with these evil folks and their evil ways. But it makes you wonder: are they even people?
No, they're not. They're not. They're not.
Or we see people,
They're not human.
but
at
are
all.
they? Is it people actually pulling the strings?
On that note,
Are going.
I'm gonna do something here. Not quite done yet.
Okay.
We're gonna get to that. I would also like to request that we end the podcast with your I can't even pronounce it again. Right?
Song. Yeah, good
With my
idea.
song.
With your song again.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And before we even get to that, and you can go have your
We
smoke
did
while he's
want a
playing
theme
this. My idea was every week we're gonna write a song.
Oh, while we're here. Yeah, idea.
Not while we're here.
Okay.
It's almost like a challenge too. So every week we're gonna pick a chord progression
Okay.
and a theme. And what was the
Okay,
theme? What was the theme that you said earlier that we should write a song?
Ooh.
Grounding.
Oh, grounding. Yeah,
So,
I was like, oh, Bob's gonna come and talk.
I
about
propose
grounding,
that after you play your song and before you play yours. We'll think about it. We'll pick like a chord progression, pick a couple chords or a key,
Okay.
and then you'll go home and you'll have your interpretation and then your thing, and then I'll do mine. And then next week we'll present them to each other. And we'll see how different and how similar they are.
Okay. I'll write that down. Grounding. That is a cool idea.
And every week we do that. And we'll try and pick a different key. It could even go like use these specific chords in this order and only these chords here. And then maybe eventually we'll start getting, okay, we'll do these chords, and then for the chorus or for the verse, and then here's your bridge chords inside that is your own thing. The words you use to describe the topic is your own.
Cool.
I'd like to do that too.
So I don't know if I'm going to keep this song, but I'm going to steal the chord progression from Nobody. Let's see, how's that go? So, I could just kind of, now a lot of old swing songs go like that. Like there's that one, but there's several others that go almost exactly. So I'm going to find my key. I used to party. Oh, and then so like. I used to party every Friday night, right into Saturday if it felt right. Hair of the dog early on Sunday, back to the pub for a jam night on Monday. A beer or two when Tuesday came round. Shots on hump day helped me go down. Thursday, well, the band gets to play. A little liquor lubrication, as they say, but then a little puff to relax the mind. First on the weekends, then from time to time. Next thing you know, it was every single night. Out at the clubs trying to feel all right. After a while, well, you know how it goes. I started getting tired, so something up your nose. Up all night and working all day. Spent all my money in a foolish way. Then one morning my money was all spent. Cupboard was empty and I couldn't pay no rent. My heart was heavy and I was all alone. What did I do when I was drunk and stoned? Fell to my knees and I began to pray. Oh, won't you help me make it through this doggone day? Took some time, a lot of pushing and shoving, but drinking and drugging turned into thinking and loving. It's not too late to change your ways. Sometimes feels like you're slipping away. But just remember, after the dark of the night, in comes the morning with the warmth of light. Believe in yourself, don't be ashamed to pray. You'll find that strength to make it through the day. I may take time and lots of pushing and shoving, but drinking and drugging can turn to thinking and loving. little bit of work, but I'm getting
That
there.
was awesome.
Thanks.
That was great, man.
Well, the
That was
idea was
great.
like, I don't know. And it's funny, I just had this line last week, or I thought of drinking and drugging, and then somehow I turned it into drinking and drugging, turned into thinking and loving. And you can see, I just wrote it on the top. I said, I got to make a song out of that.
Nice.
And I never got around to it. And then, because like some people can have a little sip of beer. My dad has had a drink of rum or rye. I've ever seen him. One. That's it.
I can't do that.
Yeah, and I'm seeing him, and once in a while, I don't know what it was, probably different when we were younger, right? It's just, some people can, some people can't. Some people with like weed, they just got to, some people can, some people can't. Some people with like weed they just got it. Like I used to smoke it all the time. And
I do now, and I need to cut it. Like I need to.
But it serves its purpose sometimes. And so now every once in a while,
I
it's
just
not bad,
find it. I just find it right now. It's such a crutch, but I know.
Right.
I know what like the current narrative, what's going on the planet, and I'm not using it as an excuse. But I was off the weed before the pandemic.
Right.
And, and then as soon as the pandemic hit, I thought, well, I can't go to alcohol because I went to alcohol and I saw the old Bob coming back, and I thought, man, this is a train wreck. I won't survive. I will not survive, right? Yeah. So for me right now, the weed is what's keeping me alive to get off it. Like I need to.
But you have the right mindset, so you'll be.
No, I do. Yeah.
We should talk about
that. I know you wouldn't probably have, but he might.
Oh, okay, right.
You know what I mean? There's the soldier, right? You know what I mean?
We'll pack that next week.
Yeah.
Before we too off topic here.
Hey. That reminds me of this song. I know to you. I don't know the words, but you can put words. Whether that'll be it, but it's sort of. That's cool. So that's kind of. So I got a lot of songs like that where I've kind of got.
Doing something on the guitar for us for skit night, and I said, yeah, I'll do something even better than that. I'm going to go back to my little cabin and write a song. She goes, really? I said, yeah, why not? So I wrote a song in 5 minutes, and and everybody I've played it for is like, wow, man, that's a really nice song. So I want to play that song for you.
So cool.
That's I'm so surprised. Because I was living in a spirit. I thank you.
I thank you.
I love you.
That's so awesome.
That's fucking amazing.
Cool. Wow.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you both for being here with me tonight. This was truly amazing.
Yeah, it was.
I look forward to many more.
Yeah, thank you for the invite, Chris and Brian. I really appreciate this.
Anytime.
This is beautiful, man.
Anytime.
Beautiful to be in this space.
Thank you to everybody else. Have a good night.
Thank
seeing
you.
us later on.
Love you all.
Hashtag replay.
Yeah. Oh, Pono.
Oh, Pono. That's beautiful, man. I can't wait to play that. Hey, Brian, if you want to come out to my fire circle, or the community's fire circle at my place on the full moon, December 18th, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, that's going to be cool.